Bill, we're going to try and jump this thing off, buddy.
Absolutely.
And let's jump it off by the people that actually make this happen, my friend.
Well, again, we can't say enough about WSIC, but the presenting sponsor of our whole Small Business Week is Novant Health Huntersville Medical Center. And we have Kathy Ames that's on board. And Kathy, you want to share what's going on at Novant Health?
Sure, thanks. Good evening, everyone. What a pleasure it is to join you all on the 9th annual Small Business event. And Novant is proud to be a sponsor for the Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce. As Bill said, I'm Kathy Ames. I'm the Senior Director of Professional Support Services at Novant Health Huntersville Medical Center. And it continues to amaze me how special this community is. I'm eager to build impactful relationships with you all and garner lasting community connections with chamber members and support our local businesses, big and small. We partner directly with many of you that are online today, so I just wanted to take the time to say thank you for the differences that you're making in our community. We at Novant Health Huntersville Medical Center are committed to investing in local communities and, more importantly, the safety of our patients. Between work, family, and other commitments, I know we're all overscheduled. And so this is a great venue to be able to be online, be streaming on Facebook.
Kathy, thank you so much for doing this. I try and tell people this all the time. A lot of people don't understand most healthcare is small business, and they kind of miss that, right? Because we going to your services, we don't think of a doctor as business, but you really can and do relate to small business issues.
Absolutely. And like you said, our physician practices are small businesses. Our community hospital is a small business in the Huntersville community. So it definitely lines up with our mission, vision, and values to support the communities in which we serve.
Kathy, now that we've sort of winding down from COVID, we're starting to see declining numbers on that. What are some of the activities that Novant Huntersville Medical Center is involved in?
Oh gosh, we have a lot going on. We've just started our farmers market back. So every Tuesday through the end of August, we'll have the local farmers market in the at the hospital parking lot. So that's a great event. We have lots of great vendors. It started yesterday. We are working on our pediatric emergency department, which we received a grant from the Martin Truex Foundation. That should be finished later this summer. So we will have specialized pediatric emergency care in Huntersville, which will be great for the community.
Are starting to see things starting to simmer down from the pandemic.
Yes, we are.
Well, that's fantastic. Again, I can't say enough about what you guys do at Novant. You're the presenting sponsor of our Small Business Week. All the activities that you're involved with are Focus Fridays. So we really appreciate the support from Novant for the Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce.
Absolutely. And then just one other thing, next week we will be celebrating our healthcare team for Healthcare and Nurses Week. We celebrate it every year, and they're definitely our internal heroes, and they are remarkable. And we will be honoring them and celebrating them all week next week.
Thank you, Kathy. Anything else you'd like to share on behalf of Novant?
Nope, we just appreciate being included and being the presenting sponsor for this fabulous 9th annual event. So thanks for having us, Bill.
Thank you, Kathy.
And Kathy, I have to tell you that small business people really do appreciate your support more than you know. There are hundreds of people that have been associated with putting this event together, and we make sure they know that you guys are here to support us, and we really genuinely thank you for that.
Well, we serve a community that loves us, and we're very fortunate for that. So thank you.
Great. Good. So, Bill, we've got another sponsor that is somebody we want to recognize as well. Am I right, my friend?
Do we have Norman on? Norman Spencer?
Has Norman come on by Zoom? No?
Hopefully we'll get him on. Sam's Club is a supporting sponsor of the Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce, particularly Small Business Week, and Norman Spencer is one of the managers there, and hopefully he'll be joining us in just a little while.
And so I remember you telling me of the sponsors you wanted, And well, we got the first on the list.
Right,
I mean, I knew you wanted them. And second was Sam's Club.
Yep, absolutely. Sam's Club is, again, a tremendous sponsor. They've been there for the Chamber of Commerce. We did a lot of activities there. The second Friday breakfasts that we would have with the Mooresville Chamber and the Statesville Chamber. Unfortunately, with the pandemic coming in, it kind of changed that structure. But Sam's Club has been a long-time supporter of the Chamber of Commerce. But I encourage you, if you're not a member of Sam's Club, go out and join. Oh, there he is. We got Norman coming up on the line. Norman, can you hear us?
Can you hear us, buddy?
Norman Spencer with Sam's Club?
Not yet.
I see him, but I don't hear him. He's smiling.
Hi, how you doing?
Hey, Norman.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can. Norman, I was just introducing you a little while ago. People, he is the manager of Sam's Club, but Norman is a doctor. He has his doctorate. So, Norman, tell us a little bit about Sam's Club. You run the Mooresville location. Talk to us about Sam's.
Well, so I heard earlier that you said we got a lot. We do have a lot going on, actually. So I'm very excited to talk about Sam's Club. Of course, you guys know we're located here in Mooresville, right off of River Highway. Actually, we're getting ready for a major event. We've got our maintenance savings that's coming on. So we're really excited about that. Got a lot of hot items that are going to be flying right out the door for summer season. A lot of grilling items. We're going to be having some exciting deals, especially in our fresh meat and seafood area, which many people don't realize. We have a full bakery, a full fresh meat and seafood, frozen and ready, never frozen, on top of prepared food. So we're really excited about that. And on top of that, we've got a lot of good services. We've got our tire and battery event that's getting ready to happen. So members will be able to save a lot on a brand new set of tires, which of course is really important always. Got to stay safe on those roads heading into the summer season. And of course, gas prices are high. One of the best places to get gas, particularly because of the everyday low prices.
Norman, I got this is Joe Vagnone. We have not met, but I got to tell you something. You pitching the Sam's Club like a pro. Now, here's my question to you. Did you wake up on a Tuesday and say, I want to work at Sam's? How did this happen? Walk me through the life. How did it happen?
Well, actually, as was talked about earlier, my training, I'm actually a physician by training. I've been a physician for 17 years now. I'm a psychiatrist.
Oh, Bill could use you really bad. You spend some time with Bill.
Can we pivot the show to that instead?
Can we pivot? Let's pivot.
I get that a lot. So, but been a psychiatrist for a while, specifically a forensic psychiatrist. And so, not that I don't love doing that. I very much enjoy it. It's not quite what everybody thinks. It's not, sitting on a couch and listening to somebody as they talk. That's a very small part, but it's a lot of paperwork, actually.
Well,
but
what I know about your job, I can assure you, you're using all of that psychology with all those employees.
Norman, give us the street address again on your particular location of Sam's Club.
We're off of 646 River Highway in Mooresville, North Carolina. So we're right at the corner of Irvin Road and River Highway. And the good thing is we got a little slip road that leads straight to the club. So it's really easy to get to us, even with all the traffic that hits, between, ever, all the time.
Norman, I was telling Joe, you guys have been on board and have been a supporting sponsor of the Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce for a long time. When did that Sam's Club open up? It was about 8-10 years ago?
Well, so actually, this physical facility opened in 2014.
2014.
So we're actually, so we're pretty new. We're still new to the area, but we obviously fit into the fabric of what is Mooresville. So really excited to be here. Really excited to get involved in the community. Many people don't know, we do a lot of community outreach.
Norman,
so we're really excited about that.
When you come into Sam's Club and you look on the wall, you can see all of the various charities and nonprofits you guys have supported over the years. It's phenomenal. So we want to thank you on behalf of this chamber, the Mooresville Chamber, the Statesville Chamber, for all your support for our community.
Oh no, we're happy for it, and we're really excited. We continue to expect to do so for the coming years.
Norman, I've got this small business show every Friday morning. We're going to have to get you on with Bill. I want a whole hour session with you and Bill. so we can get to the bottom of some of the problems I know happening.
The most listened to show you've ever had.
That's right.
We'll shut WSIC down.
Well, get ready. I charge separately for that.
Yeah.
Norman, on behalf of the Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce, thank you so much for being the supporting sponsor of not just this program, but Small Business Week this week.
No, we're very happy. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, buddy.
Norman.
Thank you,
We
Norman.
appreciate your time.
Not a problem. Thank you.
And you. Let's do it. So I want everybody to know it's been over a year since I read Meredith Elliott Powell's book. It is a great book. The name of the book is Thrive: Strategies to Turn Uncertainty into Competitive Advantages. If you're on the book, I'm showing the book. You can see all the flaps because I've read the book, made notes in it, and I've been trying to get her on the show for almost a year now. Her book is just the nail on the head. She is absolutely nailed what is necessary to make it in this environment. And I encourage you to take a look at her book. Again, Thrive: Strategies to Turn Uncertainty into a Competitive Edge. And Tracy, you're going to introduce her for us.
I have the honor of introducing her, and what a perfect name, Thrive. Meredith Powell, she's a sales strategist, leadership expert, certified speaking professional, and award-winning author. Meredith Elliott Powell wants today's businesses to stop viewing uncertainty as something that prevents them from being successful. This is why her virtual programs, leadership coaching, and online courses, keynote presentations leverage her 9-step formula for making uncertainty your company's strategic advantage. Meredith Powell.
Do you remember when you were a kid in elementary school? Think back to sitting in that kindergarten class and what your teacher told you was important, what mattered. In those days, you would actually get a grade for how well you got along and how well you played with others. All of your other marks could be strong. You could be that student with perfect attendance, that student who did well in spelling and math, and the one student who actually treated the teacher with respect. But if you did not play well with others, remember that phrase? That bad mark would certainly mean a meeting with the teacher and a follow-up call to your parents. I have often wondered why after grade school, those marks and grades, they just go away. Why do we stop being held accountable for our ability to get along and play well with others once we stop getting recess and an afternoon snack? It's just too bad that that accountability does not follow us through life, because it is one of the most critical skills you can have, both professionally and personally. One of the most important resources you build is your ability to communicate and engage with others. In fact, the research shows that 85% of our success in life, it is based on our ability to communicate with and get along with others. 85%, that's a lot. See, only 15% of our success is based on our technical ability. Communication ranks among the top 5 skills needed to run an organization, engage with customers and members, and de-stress your life. But the good news is, yes, just like our grade school teachers understood, communication, connection, and engagement, they are skills that can be taught. They are skills that can be learned and ones that should be continually developed. They are the skills that will never be mastered. They are a true lifelong journey of continual improvement, but one that comes with a huge payoff. And that is what we're going to focus on today. That is what we are going to cover in this program. When I leave this stage, this virtual stage, you will have the skills, the strategies, the techniques, everything you need to connect, communicate, and engage, and learn the secrets to getting along with absolutely anybody. So where do we start, right? Well, we have to begin by understanding we all have a natural bias. I mean, we all do. We have a natural tendency to like some people more than others. And you know what I mean. Think of people in your life who you are naturally attracted to. Right now. I mean, think of a member in your organization whom you like, you felt an easy connection with, someone who just lights up a room. They easily bring a smile to your face. They are just comfortable to talk with and so easy to be around. That feels good, right? Now let's do the opposite. Think of people or members you don't like. Now, we don't like to admit it, but we all got them, right? Picture in your mind that one person, if you were honest with yourself, you would rather have a tooth pulled out than have a meeting with or spend an afternoon with them. You are loath to appoint them to a committee or ask them to volunteer for an event because you know you have already made up your mind it is going to be an unpleasant experience. So why is that? Why do we click with some people more than others? Well, it is probably no surprise we like people who are like us or how we want to be. We naturally are attracted to and easily click with people who talk the way we do, think the way we do, and make decisions the way we do, versus those who are different than us, think differently than we do, have a different perspective, act and talk entirely differently than we do. See, these people, they push us out of our comfort zone. They challenge us and make us have to work so much harder to just be heard or to even be understood. And we don't like them as well because the flow of communication is just tougher. It's work and it's hard. And look, we don't like hard. But to lead and lead effectively, to master this uncertain marketplace, you have to master the art of getting along with anybody and recognize the value in connecting with people that are sometimes challenging, people that are sometimes difficult. These people who can get along with anybody, they accept that they are not going to like everyone. They just embrace it. Sometimes we get caught in the trap of thinking that we are nice people. We think that we are going to and should like everyone we interact with, even when in reality, look, that's just not going to happen. It's inevitable. You will encounter difficult people who oppose what you think, and smart people know this. They also recognize that conflicts or disagreements are a result of differences in values, nothing more. They also understand that not liking someone does not mean that they are intrinsically a bad human. The reason you don't get along is because you have different values, and those different values result in judgment. You just can't help it. But once you accept that not everyone will like you, and you won't like everyone, and it is simply a difference in values, the realization takes the emotion out of the situation. And when you get the emotion out of the situation, you create an environment where you can agree to disagree. And what could be better than that? Smart people bear with, they don't ignore or dismiss those they don't like. In other words, they put up with it. Oh, sure, you may cringe at his constant criticism, grit your teeth at her lousy jokes, or shake your head or roll your eyes at their unusual ideas. But feeling less than affectionate towards someone might not be the worst thing. Those gifted to get along with everyone, those people understand you need people who have different points of view and aren't afraid to argue. That people who have a different perspective are the kind of people who can actually stop your organization from making wrong decisions or doing something stupid. It may not always be easy. Smart people and great leaders understand that those who challenge or provoke you, prompt you to new insights, and help propel the group to success. In other words, you cannot really grow without difficult people. Remember, it may be hard to believe, but you aren't perfect either, yet people still tolerate you. Smart people treat those they don't like with civility. They're kind. Smart leaders understand that whatever your feelings are for someone, that person will be highly attuned to your attitude and behavior, and they will treat you as you treated them. It is the golden rule, right? So if you are rude or dismissive to them, they will likely throw away all decorum and be rude and dismissive to you. But if you remain fair, impartial, and composed, They may not always treat you the same way, but you will at least always hold the upper hand by controlling your own behavior, and those and others will have a greater respect for you. And people who can get along with anybody, they check their own expectations. Listen, I think this is the most important and critical step that you can take. Really get your expectations in line. Because you see, for the most part, we all have unrealistic expectations about others. We expect others to think, act, and handle things exactly the same way that we do, even though they don't have the same values, the same upbringing, or even the same perspective. I mean, I remember when my husband and I got married, one of our biggest issues was that he expected and wanted to eat a big meal at noon and a small meal in the early evening. And I was completely the opposite. We fought about it for the longest time, one thinking the other was both wrong and completely rude for even suggesting such a thing. But the truth was, we just had different expectations based on how we were raised, what our parents and family did. See, it is the same for you. Think of the differences you have with people. More often than not, they are just based on you having unrealistic expectations. If a member is always critical when they ask questions, why would you expect them to be any different the next time you see them? Why would you expect them to be motivating if their natural tendency is to be critical? Expecting others to do as you would do is setting yourself up for disappointment and frustration. If a person causes you to feel negatively or uncomfortable every time you engage with them, then adjust your expectations. Smart people do this all the time. They're not always surprised by a dislikable person's behavior, and neither should you. And smart people and people who get along with everybody, they turn inwards and they focus on themselves. Because you see, no matter what you try, some people can still really get under your skin. It's important that you learn how to handle your frustration when dealing with someone who annoys you. Instead of thinking about how irritating that person is, instead, focus on why you are reacting the way you are. And we are going to talk more about this in just a little while, getting a hold of how you react to people, but giving you the tools to master it. Do a little internal focus. Sometimes what we don't like in others is frequently what we don't like in ourselves. Besides, always remember, those people that drive us crazy, they didn't create the button. They're only pushing it. I love that. See, the button is ours, and we decide if we let other people push it or not, and how hard we let them push it. If you can pause and get a grip on your adrenaline pump and go to the intellectual part of your brain, you'll be better able to have a conversation and to skip over the judgment. A deep breath, one big step back, can also help to calm you down and protect you from overreaction. And smart people and people that get along with anybody, they voice their own needs. They speak up for themselves. Being passive gets you nowhere. If certain people constantly tick you off, calmly let them know that their manner or behavior or communication style is a problem for you. Avoid accusatory language and instead try the "when you, I feel" formula. For example, saying things like, "When you cut me off in meetings, I feel like you don't value my contributions." Then take a moment and wait for their response. You might find that the other person didn't even realize you weren't finished speaking, or your colleague was so excited about your idea that she enthusiastically jumped into the conversation. See, people are not doing things to you. Usually they're doing things to help themselves. Let me repeat that. People are not doing things to you. Usually they are doing things to help themselves. So sometimes people don't even know or have any idea that their behavior is off-putting to us. So learn to speak up and ask for what you want. And lastly, give it space. If all else fails, smart people allow space between themselves and those they don't like. No one is forcing you to engage any longer than you have to with a person you don't like. Excuse yourself and go on your way. If at work, move to another room or sit at the other end of the conference table. See, with a bit of distance, perspective, and empathy, you may be able to come back and interact both with those people you like and those you don't, as if completely unfazed. Of course, Everything would be easier if we could just wish people we don't like away. Wouldn't that be great? But too bad we all know that's not how life works. We need to learn to master the art of connecting, communicating, and engaging. Master the art of getting along with anybody. So let's dive into these strategies, the steps, the things you need to know to elevate your leadership and take your association to the next level. And along the way, you may just learn a few tricks that make building and retaining your membership stronger and life at the Thanksgiving dinner table this year just a little easier. So here are your strategies for getting along with anybody. Let's start with understanding how we communicate and how people communicate differently. Let's assume that you are looking at a great big circle that represents the model of human behavior. In fact, better yet, why don't you get a piece of paper and a pencil? Go ahead. I'll wait. All right, you got it? Now on a sheet of paper, please draw a great big circle and title it the model of human behavior. That's right, the model of human behavior. Now make the circle as big as your sheet of paper and look at the circle, and I want you to understand that inside that circle, we're going to define all the different ways that people communicate, connect, and engage. We're going to construct the actual model of human behavior. Now take your pencil or pen and draw a horizontal line in the middle of your circle, right across the middle of it. Got it? Fantastic. We call this pace. Write pace at the top of your circle. Pace is how people move, react, and take action. And matching people's pace is the first step in learning to get along with anybody. The truth is, we begin to connect and engage with people before we ever open our mouths. We do it with our body language, our movement, our energy level. We decide whether we like people or not almost instantly. And people who live above your line are what we call outgoing. Write that down. Label that area above the line as outgoing. People and members who are like this are fast-paced. They are high energy. They are always on the word go. They tend to move before they think. To this group, if you say, "Do you wanna?" they say yes before they even know what you're asking or where you're going. You could have been asking them to go get colonoscopies, but by goodness, they are all in. This group is energized, enthused, and excited. This group values and connects with people who move and think like they do, quickly and to the point. Those of us who provide volumes of information or move a little bit in a more reserved manner, we drive these high energy folks crazy, often without even knowing it. Nothing worse for an outgoing person than to engage with someone who talks slowly. Goodness help you if you pause before you answer a question, because these people, if there's too much silence, they'll just have the whole conversation without you. They will just keep talking. See, they have places to go. They have things to do. They are in a hurry to get the job done. They like quick decisions, conversations that get to the point, and energy that is fast and driven. Now let's look at those that live below your horizontal line. These folks are reserved. Go ahead and write that down, reserved. These are the people that tend to think before they move. Wow, there's a concept, right? They actually think before they even speak. They like information. They like to be sure before taking action. And they tend to look for the negative before the positive. They are just natural worriers. They are a little more critical, pensive, and introspective. When these reserved folks encounter those that live above the line, those that come at them with all that energy and all that speed, honestly, it's too much. It shuts them down. They tend to be put off. So, congratulations. Now you know the first step in the model of human behavior and getting along with anybody. It's pace, how we move. We are either outgoing or reserved. We either move quickly and with a lot of energy, or we move a little slower and prefer to get more information before we take action. So where do you fall? What is your preferred communication style? Are you outgoing, reserved? Do you prefer to move quickly, to get decisions fast? Or do you prefer more time? Are you more pensive? Pace is the first thing I look at when I look to get along with anybody. I look at how people move. The teller in the drive-thru, the clerk at the grocery store, the meeting planner I'm engaging with. It is the first way I'm trying to adjust my style to better connect with them. Now let's go back to our circle, and I want you to draw another line in that circle, again in the middle, but this time a vertical line straight down the center. Got it? That's what we call priority. What is the most important to people? Write that word down, priority. You're going to want to remember it. I believe that most of our issues and challenges to get along and connect with anybody, it comes down to priorities. If you have different or competing priorities, you are bound to have conflict. It's just natural. If you are looking at your circle, I want you to write the word task on the left-hand side of that circle. Just write it down. Now go over to the right side of the circle and write people. Just write people over there. Now let's look at task. For those members we engage that are task focused, they like form, they like structure, they like process. They focus on the goal and getting the job done. In fact, one of the most exciting things to them is to cross something off their to-do list. It just turns them on. They are the type of people who come to a meeting or into the office on Monday morning, they grab a cup of coffee and they get right to work. They don't want to talk. They don't want to hear what you did over the weekend, and they certainly don't want to make small talk. In fact, small talk drives these people crazy. When you meet or engage with task-oriented folks, they want to get to the point, handle business before pleasure. All right, now you've got the task folks. So let's go to the other side of the circle, the right side, and focus on the people-focused individual. People who live on that side of the circle are all about the relationship. Before they engage with you, talk business, or address the task at hand, they want to get to know you and you to know them. They want to know how many kids you have, where you grew up, and what your favorite color is. And when they come to work on Monday, the first 10 minutes of any workday is to grab a cup of coffee, walk around the office, and ask everyone how their weekend was, with the real intention of telling everyone how great their weekend was. Right? Do you recognize yourselves or others who do that? You can imagine the clash between these two groups. The task-oriented folks are driven nuts by the people-oriented folks, asking too many questions and getting too personal and wasting time. And the relationship-oriented folks think the task-oriented folks are just rude. They seem to have no feelings and always jump right to the point of business. So where do you fall? Task-oriented or relationship-oriented? If I gave you 15 minutes right now, would you rather get something done on your to-do list or grab a cup of coffee and have a conversation with your friends? Congratulations. Now you understand the model of human behavior. You should have a circle in front of you with a horizontal line that is outgoing on top, reserved on the bottom, and a vertical line down the center with task on the left and people on the right. Now, once you understand the model, it's time to look at it just a little closer just to better understand our own communication style, how we see the world, our strengths, our weaknesses, our blind spots. And yes, remember, we all have blind spots. Also, pay attention as we go through all the styles, because you need to understand each style to truly understand other people and how to communicate, connect, and engage. Now let's go back to our circle. And if you find that you are outgoing and task-focused, your style is the upper left quadrant, and you are what is known as a dominant style. Let's talk about what is great about you. You tend to be direct and decisive, sometimes described as dominant. You would prefer to lead than follow. You have high self-confidence, and you are risk takers and problem solvers, which enables others to look to you for decisions and direction. You are a natural self-starter. No one needs to tell you what to do. You challenge the status quo and you think in a very innovative way. We love you because you make things happen. But you have some blind spots. You tend to overstep authority and you prefer to be in charge. You can be argumentative and not listen to the reasoning of others. You sometimes ignore the details and minutia of a situation, even if it's important. Your biggest needs are choice, challenge, and control. So if I'm going to communicate with you, I focus on giving you choice, challenge, and control. Now let's look to the upper right quadrant. This is the I personality style, the influencer. You love to be the center of attention. You just love it. You are enthusiastic, optimistic, talkative, persuasive, impulsive, and you are emotional. You trust others easily and naturally. You truly enjoy being around others, and you function best when in a group and working with a team. You are naturally creative problem solver. You can think outside the box. You are a great encourager and motivator of others, an influential leader. You make and keep environments positive with your enthusiasm and dynamic sense of humor. You will go out of your way to keep things light and avoid and negotiate conflict. And you are great at keeping the peace and lightening the mood. But you have some blind spots. You are not good with details. In fact, you tend to avoid them. You are more concerned with people and popularity than with tangible results and organization. You are not a great listener, and you may give the impression of waiting to speak instead of truly listening to someone else and what they have to say. Your greatest need is approval of others and acceptance. When I communicate with you, I always look for ways to recognize and reward you. Now let's go to the reserved section below the line and the right-hand side. People-oriented and reserved are S style. You are the steady personality type, and you are known for being stable and predictable. You are even-tempered, friendly, sympathetic with others, and very generous with loved ones. In fact, you care, you understand, and you listen well. But you prefer a slower pace, things to be consistent and the same. If you ate chili on Tuesday nights with your family as a kid, chances are you are still doing that today as an adult. You like repetition, routine, and sameness. You are great at caring for members, remembering birthdays, anniversaries, and all the little things that matter. You are the master of retention, but you have some blind spots. You are so comfortable with routine that you often resist change. You avoid conflict so much that you often hold a grudge and can be a little passive aggressive. You want to please others. Therefore, you have a difficult time saying no or establishing priorities. Your greatest need is stability, sameness, and security. When I communicate with you, I make sure that I make you feel secure and supported. And lastly, let's look at our reserved, task-oriented folks, our C styles, the cautious style. You are the personality style that loves detail. You are accurate, precise, and conscientious. Often the first person at work, and you are the last one to leave. You think very analytically and systematically, and you make decisions carefully with plenty of research and information to back it up. You are the people who read textbooks, car manuals, and the directions, quite frankly, to everything. You have very high standards for both yourself and for others because you focus on the details and see what many other styles do not. So you tend to be a good problem solver and very creative. When a new idea is presented, it is you who will think through every detail of how it works and the process. You will make realistic estimates and will voice the problems that you see with a plan and already existing systems. You will complete tasks you're committed to and be very, very thorough. So thorough, in fact, almost delivering too much information. But even you have blind spots. You can be seen as critical and someone people struggle to connect with. You can provide so much information and detail that others tend to just zone out or get frustrated. You love the discovery process, so you can ask so many questions that it just sucks the life out of other people. And you would rather see a project done well than delivered on time. And your biggest need is quality and accuracy. So when I communicate with you, I provide lots of information. I'm prepared, and I am ready to answer all of your questions. So what did you learn? You are pretty impressive, right? You bring a lot to the table, and so do all the other styles. Did you see yourself in those descriptions? See others? And were you surprised by your own blind spots that even you can be hard to get along with? What are the strengths of your style? What are your weaknesses? And most importantly, what do you need to do to try to improve, to better connect, communicate, and engage, and get along with anybody? Now that you understand the model, understand yourself and the styles, let's talk about how to recognize the styles in others. Learn to identify who you are talking to so you can better engage and connect with them. Let's take each style one by one. The dominant style. These are fast-paced, task-focused individuals. The influential style. These are fast-paced and people-focused. The steady style. These are reserved and people-focused. And the cautious style. These are reserved and task-focused. Just by understanding that, can you think of 2 famous people that go with each style? 2 people that you could list for each category. Better yet, let me give you a list and have you decide where each of these celebrities go. Let me think about it. Okay, how about Mother Teresa, Oprah Winfrey, Simon Cowell, Jim Carrey, Bill Gates, Martin Luther King Jr., Albert Einstein, Robin Williams, how about a little Beyonce, one of my idols, Winston Churchill, and let's go back to the 1980s and throw Madonna in there. See, I just tried to get something for every age category. Now, write down what you think each of those famous people, their personality style, what you think they are, where they fit. And I'll repeat it one more time. We've got Mother Teresa, Oprah Winfrey, Simon Cowell, Jim Carrey, Bill Gates, Martin Luther King Jr., Albert Einstein, Robin Williams, Beyonce, Winston Churchill, and Madonna. I think I got them all. Focus on others rather than focus on ourselves. A huge factor in getting along with anybody is that. But let's look at your answers. Now, our Ds. Who do you think fell into the D style? Maybe Madonna? But you could have put her with an I would get that. Simon Cowell or even Winston Churchill. They are strong people, fast-paced and quick to make decisions. And they're even a little controversial, maybe a little hard to get along with. Now, who did you put down for the I's? Maybe Oprah Winfrey, Jim Carrey, Robin Williams, or I'm sure some of you threw Beyonce in there, or you could have put her in the D style. See, these people are dynamic, love the limelight. They are influencers. They are high energy and they are fun. Now, who did you put for the S's? Oh, that's right. That one was kind of easy. Maybe Martin Luther King Jr. or Mother Teresa. The kind of people who are about consensus and community building. They address and solve problems with peace. And last but not least are our C's. Bill Gates, Albert Einstein. Smart people, problem solvers, the ability to stay with things for a long time. A little more reserved and task focused. Now, you are well on your way. You have enough information to better connect, communicate, engage, and get along with anybody. You understand that people communicate in their own way, according to how they see the world. You deeply understand how people are different and your own personality style, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You have the tools and information you need to recognize and see the style of others. You can easily identify their pace, their priority, and how they best want to communicate. Now, all that is left is to learn to adjust your style to better connect, communicate, and engage with others. That is the key right there. If you want to get along with anybody, it is about learning to adjust your style rather than having them adjust theirs. You communicate how they want to communicate rather than having them adjust to you. In fact, the best communicator on earth, the one communicator who can really get along with anybody is, can you guess? It's the GPS on your phone or in your car. That's right. I mean, think about it. When you make a wrong turn or you miss an instruction, does she yell at you? Does she get mad at you? Does she decide she doesn't like you? No. She just recalculates. In other words, she takes the responsibility upon herself to adjust her style to better connect with you. We are going to recalculate. Here we go. Think about the top 5 people you are struggling to get along with right now. Yes, only 5. I'm going to limit you there and write them down. All right, you got it? See, that was easy. We all have people who drive us nuts. Now let's learn to recalculate. And to recalculate, the first step is, what do you think that person's style is? What's their pace? What's their priority? Now, what's your pace and priority? Is there conflict? Are you different? You probably are, or maybe you're so much alike, it's a challenge. Now, what can you do to adjust your style to better connect with theirs? Can you pick up your pace or slow it down? What can you do to ensure that your energy is matching their energy? What is their basic need, and are you meeting it? Or can you adjust to meet it? Now, what is their priority? Are they task focused or people focused? Are they more focused on getting the job done, or do they want to connect and get to know you? Now walk through all 5 of the people in front of you. That's your homework. And put down their styles with your style right next to it. Now, what is one action you can take to better match their style, better connect, communicate, and engage with them? What is one thing you can do to actually recalculate? Let me give you an example. I have a client that I love. She is one of my favorites. We just click. One time per month, she needs me to meet with her CFO. Now, her CFO is a difficult person. She does not have much personality, in my opinion. She gives one-word answers, and she questions me so much it exhausts me. I find her very negative. So to meet with her, I need to prepare. First, I need to see my own expectations. I need to be realistic. I know we are not going to have fun. I know that she is not going to talk much, and I know that she is going to ask me so many questions that I will be completely wiped out when I'm done. So I always make sure I'm doing something right after that I love to do, like go for a mountain bike ride or get a massage. And that is how you communicate, connect, and engage. And that is how you can master the art of getting along with anybody. So there you have it. See, now you understand the value of getting along with others, how smart people do it, and what it takes to recognize how people communicate and why at times it is challenging, and what you need to do to adjust your style to better connect. Always remember, people are doing things to help themselves, not to hurt or offend you. If you can understand their pace, focus on their priority, and learn to meet people where they are, you can address their basic needs, then you really can get along with anybody. I'm Meredith Elliott Powell. Thank you for your time today. I believe if you build your network, it will change your life. If we are not connected, I hope that you will connect with me and we can take the first steps together to getting along with absolutely anybody.
And you've been listening to Thrive, Competitive Advantage Strategies to Turn Uncertainty into Competitive Advantage. Meredith Elliott Powell. It was a absolutely phenomenal talk. Thank you, Meredith, so much. Meredith is not able to speak with us live for this event. She is in Madrid. You just heard one of the top speakers in the world, and we thank her so much for allowing us to share that. This is Local Biz Now Special Edition, the signature 9th annual small business event of the year. And I am so pleased to have Tracy, Bill, and Ben with us. And we've got a special guest. He's going to replace Meredith. Now, I got to tell you something, Bill. That's going to be a real hard task. But you and I know this man. I'm going to let you introduce him. I'm positive he's up for the challenge.
Yeah, my friend Chuck Gallagher. Grow your business through the magic of questions. Want to unlock the secrets of massive traffic? You won't want to miss this intensive program that shows the simplicity of using technology to grow your business. Seen on CNN, Fox Business, and heard on NPR, Chuck Gallagher is a leading business strategist known for his insight on what can grow your business. Having been a founder in a startup that was merged into a public company where Chuck serves as sales and marketing VP today, Chuck knows how to grow from an idea into a multi-million-dollar enterprise. Likewise, as owner of Primo Productions, a leading video production company that produces powerful marketing videos nationwide, Chuck is going to share his insights that can elevate your business. And Chuck, I'm sitting here looking at you. You're not in the room with us, but I see the Beatles poster in the background. I'm going to tell you something. You've known us for 3 years, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret, a little bit of insight. Joe is the walrus.
Oh, that's awesome to know. Wow.
So, Chuck, thank you, my friend. I got to tell you something. You know, we brag on Senator Tom Tillis every time he calls. He answers and says yes. But the truth is, buddy, you've been there for me. You helped me either find a speaker or do the speaking. This is an example of that. Show Meredith's book for just a second, Chris. I read read Meredith's book. Then I went and searched her online, found her stuff online, liked it. Then I called you and say, hey, what do you think of Meredith? Because I found out you were the one that produced a lot of her stuff. And you said, Joe, she's simply awesome. And so even when I don't ask for you to get involved, you're still involved in this, buddy. Thank you so much.
Hey, listen, it is my pleasure. And I don't want to say this just to make sure, because you said, I'm replacing Meredith. It is crystal clear that I am not nearly as attractive as Meredith. But I do produce her videos, and we did that video. So what you saw was produced here in Greenville, South Carolina with Primo Productions. Now, if that isn't shameless promotion, I don't know what is.
Go right ahead, buddy. This is a Small Business of the Year event. If we can't promote ourselves, what good are we doing here, my friend? Thank you so much, Chuck, for doing this. Also, let me remind everybody, Chuck's company, Primo Production, is one of our sponsors. Absolutely. And has been for 3 years running. I've got a couple of extra co-hosts, Chuck, that you don't know. Put them on the air, Chris, so that Chuck can see them. Tracy, you might remember Tracy from last year. And yes. Ben McDonald, who you have not met. Well, Ben said, who is that guy? And I said, oh, well. And before I got anything out of my mouth, Bill said, convict. Joe's favorite convict. And so you still are remembered as Joe's favorite convict, even though that's been many years ago since we were introduced for that. So you have many lives, buddy.
First introduction, Chuck. That's the best.
What can I say? It's a great introduction. And the other day I had an attorney who said, have you seen his videos? He walks out in an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs. And I'm like, are you kidding? Are you using that against me? I have already outed myself.
Well, let me say something,
That's why
Chuck.
I get hired.
What Joe Vagnone does down in here in the studio is sometimes criminal. So there you go.
Oh, brother, let me tell you, there's a lot of folks out there that just haven't gotten caught. But that's a different issue for a different time.
So Chuck, let's try and do some justice to Meredith's talk, okay? You and I spoke about Meredith the other day, and you said something that was intriguing. You said, Joe, there's a lot of speakers out there, and it's been very, very difficult, and somehow she's found a way to succeed in very difficult times. What do you think she's doing differently? Because it seems to me like she is my kind of woman. She's practicing what she preaches.
She absolutely does. And here's the thing. In the video that you just saw, it is incredibly important to understand who we are as human beings and how we connect with each other. And that's what she was talking about. But let me tell you a little backstory. So the pandemic hits, and for those of us who are professional speakers, if there are no meetings, there are no presentations. Or we do this virtually, much like we're doing today, okay? So most speakers were like, oh, what are we going to do? There's less business, income is down, etc. But Meredith looked at it from an entirely different perspective. And she told me, I've got the 70-30 rule. And I was like, okay, Meredith, explain that to me. And here's what she said. She said, I identify at the beginning of the year 100 companies, organizations that I would like to do or work with. So, number one, instead of, and I'm making this fun for me, but instead of going out in the woods with a shotgun and just shoot what you kill or eat what you kill, she is focused. She knows who her target market is. That's number one. Number two, once she identifies her target market, she makes sure to connect with her target market every month consistently. Now, seems easy enough, but here's what she does. 70% of the time, well, technically it's 75, but most of the time she is giving them something. I am going to give you an article for the Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce. I am going to appear on a radio show. I am going to provide something of value to you that you do not pay for. Now, the 30% of the time, I'm going to ask you for your business. In other words, I want to be a resource first so that you look at me as a valued, trusted partner, and then I want to ask you for your business. And the thing that's happened is if Meredith were here and you said to her, Meredith, what was your year like this year? 2021 going into 22. Best year she's ever had. Most people would say my year is down by 60, 65%. Best year she ever had. And the other thing, Joe, and I'll shut up here because it is a conversation, but the other thing that she was real smart about was she looked and said, what's happening in the marketplace? Because we need to use technology. So Meredith decided, I'm going to take my content and I'm going to record it. So if someone says to me, hey, can you be here on May the 4th? May the 4th be with you, by the way. But can you be here on May the 4th for this program? She could say, well, yes, but it would have to be via video because Meredith's in Madrid, which is a great place to be if you've had the best year you've ever had, but yet she doesn't miss out on being able to provide her content and get the exposure that any of us who are in business look for. So she's really smart. I give you content, I ask for the sale, and I make sure that I can provide it in a multitude of ways so that I don't miss out on opportunities.
So Chuck, you talked there about Meredith and then other speakers as well, right, that have used technology as things have gone more virtual to be able to have the best years ever. I want to talk a little bit about your role and your side in this, right? So we already mentioned that you did this video for her and you do others as well. So what role do you play for these speakers to help build the right content using the right technology so they can do these types of events and expand their capabilities?
So let me answer the question this way. First, it's twofold. Number one, it isn't just for speakers. The real question is, for any small business, how do I differentiate myself and how am I found? And I'm going to completely change gears for just a second to answer your question. One of the things, for example, that we do, it's very labor intensive, but we create a video a day, 5 days a week for a year for a small business. Okay, now that's a lot of videos. They're short, they're 2 minutes, they go on YouTube, but think about it. If you were a realtor in the Lake Norman area, and there's lots of realtors in the Lake Norman area, and you wanted to be the one that got most of the listings, and you weren't the number one listing agent now, how would you get your name out there? And the answer is, if you answer questions that people are searching for, they'll find you. So there's multitudes of ways to, and this is part of what we do to answer the question, is we help you find the questions that are being searched for. You formulate the answers. We create the content. We post it for you every day on YouTube. Now, there's a gentleman out in Salt Lake City. He's a child psychiatrist. And what's happened in his case is he's gone doing this process and answered questions that people are asking. Like, my 15-year-old's giving me a hard time. Can I smack the crap out of him? Well, maybe that's not the question, but, actually people...
Oh, that'd be my question.
Yeah. So, Paul would come online and say, okay, here's the question for today. Can I smack my 15-year-old? Because they just keep back talking. And the answer is probably not, because people will pick up the telephone and Child Protective Services will be there. But let's talk about realistically what you can do. And what's happened is he's ended up with having close to 2 million followers. He is making 6 figures off of ads from YouTube. But the real benefit is, in his world, he has become the go-to guy in that particular arena. And all he's done was just answered questions people already had. He just made sure he was the one answering them more than his competitors. So small business do what others are unwilling to do.
Chuck, we talk about Meredith and how she successfully changed, but I watched you do the same thing, buddy. I mean, you were a national speaker. That's how we met, right? Next thing I know, you're starting this production company because you see the future. Now, you didn't know there's going to be a pandemic in a month, but you you saw the future of where this was going and started to put your organization together about 3 years ago. Talk a little bit about that startup.
Well, so Joe, here's the thing. Some people can look at me now, it's an interesting story and we've had a little fun with it today, but it is impactful when I have the opportunity to speak. But let me be practical. At the ripe old age of 64, I know you look at me and think, gosh, 48.
I wouldn't think anything less than 63.
Oh, there we go, Joe. You my man. But here's the thing. At some point in time, people are going to look at me and say he's male, pale, and stale. The only advantage I've got, I've been to jail. That gives me just a little competitive advantage. But there is nothing that keeps the ideas and the creativity from blossoming out. So perhaps there's a point at which someone says, well, I'd really like to have a 45-year-old or a 38-year-old or someone younger that could more easily connect with the audience. I get it. I understand that. But video allows a lot of creativity, and really and honestly, in my world, I'm surrounded by a bunch of young folks, male and female, who are brilliant at video editing. And they bring all kinds of great creative ideas to the table that work, but they don't know how to run a business. Say, I know how to run a business, but I can't do what they do. So in my world, it works like this. I want to teach them how to run a business while they help grow this, so that in a decade, they become owners of this business. And I have created a legacy that allows other people to grow and to be able to hire more people and to do what those of us who are entrepreneurs in small business do. We make things better.
Chuck, one of the principles of Meredith's books was anticipating change, and you just spoke to it. I mean, when Joe just talked, you were going out and speaking to groups. You had to change, you had to adopt, and then create a message virtually. And so,
Right.
Successful businesses have got to adapt. We're going to continue to see that in the future. We had one pandemic, but there's going to be something coming down the pike that you're going to have to anticipate that change and adapt to it to be successful.
That's absolutely true. And it's always coming down the pike. I mean, yeah, a pandemic is huge, and we're all living through that, and that makes everybody, all the different generations, unique because we're living through something together. But change always takes place. It just accelerated it. And we're going to see that acceleration because, some people are like, I don't want to do that job anymore. So depending upon what your business is, there are going to be labor issues. Can we find people to work? How do we do it different? How can we meet each other's needs? And yet at the same time, a young lady came in here yesterday to do some video recording. And it was fascinating because instead of looking to all the technology, she went back to the basics, literally talking to people face to face, door to door. And she has got an incredible business recognized in her state. Now, the state is Montana. It's not as big as Charlotte, but in reality, she still is a big old fish because she recognizes that sometimes we have to go back to the basics in order to be able to meet customers' needs.
Chuck, let me ask you, and listening to Meredith's talk and talking about 85% of what we're doing is how we communicate with people. And as we are going into this space of creating digitally, social media, having to break things down in 30 seconds, 45 seconds, 60 seconds, we're having to get smaller and smaller with our messaging. Are you seeing that as challenges for business owners and entrepreneurs, especially practitioners who are so in the work, being able to kind of come into your space and create something that really kind of moves the needle forward quickly?
Yeah, in fact, I'll say this because it's kind of funny, because Meredith went through the 4 quadrants of who is what and so forth. The analytics have the hardest time because they want to know all the details in advance, which is counterintuitive to a creative who cares nothing about the details but just wants a concept.
Yep.
And for the most part, the things that when you start cutting the time down from 10 minutes to 5 minutes to 3 minutes to 2 minutes to 30 seconds, it has to be quick. It has to capture attention because we have no inclination to watch anything for any length of time. And the ones that do the best are the ones that capture emotion. Let me give you a quick example. Think about the Super Bowl commercials. when you see the little dog there with the Budweiser Clydesdales leaving, and he's all distraught because the horses are gone and yada, yada, yada. And the next thing you know, you see, the little golden retrieval tail wagging in the window, it's kind of frozen over and the Clydesdales are coming back. And he's so excited because here they are coming back. Never once did anybody say anything about beer. They knew the Clydesdales were delivering beer to the Super Bowl party. They knew they came back. It was good. The dog was happy, and people were like, oh, and it was this heartfelt thing, and people buy more beer. Why? Because emotion sells.
It's big.
Okay, so Chuck, Ben has got a podcast. Now, it wasn't until last Tuesday that I even knew what that was. Okay?
Not mine, just podcasts in
The
general.
podcast in general. That's right. And so I'm curious, how do you compete with the podcast and then the video on YouTube? Like, for a guy like me, I find it hard to see the value in a podcast if you can add video to that. Walk me through the differences between those two things, because I got to tell you something. My son is at High Point University. He has taken 2 classes that is nothing more than learning how to do a proper podcast. And I'm thinking, where's the video in all of this? And it's not part of it. So for some reason, there's some differences here.
Okay, so here's the thing. I'm a really practical guy, right? So if I'm going to do a podcast, which is effectively radio without radio, right? I mean, that's it. I'm talking. I may carry on a conversation with someone else, or I may not. It may just be a monocast, and that's the way it is, and it's just me sharing whatever. But it's audio. So if I'm going to do that, I believe in multi-purposing something.
That's right.
So if I were doing a podcast, I'm going to create my content. I'm going to shoot that content. Now, in my world, I'm going to probably read it off of a teleprompter on a green screen so I can make video, because, Joe, I don't want to lose what I got. One, I'll put it on the podcast. That satisfies the people that like podcasts and listen to audio. Great. Number 2, I'm going to take the podcast that was recorded on video and I'm going to put it on YouTube. Why not? It's free, so I may as well utilize that opportunity. And number 3, I'm going to transcribe the podcast, or let artificial intelligence do that, and I will post it on my website as a blog. So the readers get the content. The people who are visual and want to see it get it on YouTube. The people who want to hear it driving in their car, listening on their earbuds, get it as a podcast. But to only do one facet of that, to me, misses the opportunity that's available to us, because the blog costs nothing to post, the podcast costs nothing functionally to post, and the video costs nothing to post, other than you've got to take the time to create these things in order to have your content available.
Yeah, no, Chuck, you're nailing it, because what so many people miss as they're trying to create content is they're going to do one thing. They're only going to do video, or they're only going to do audio. But if you can reproduce multi-purpose, so you can get on YouTube for full form video, and then you can take that and create a 1-minute clip, and then you get to put that on Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook, and you've got your full audio on Spotify, and then you get to take a quote and you can make that into a graphic that you get to put on your social media. All of a sudden, now your 1-hour podcast is creating hours and hours and days worth of content that you just get to reproduce over and over. So I think you're nailing it.
Yeah. And look, here's the thing, and this is going to be really weird. So let me just go there, and I'm going to tell you
Chuck,
that on the front.
I've known you to be weird. Go right ahead. I expect it, buddy.
We're there already tonight, Chuck. It's okay.
So there's a website. By the way, I don't get paid by this company. This is not an affiliate thing, so I want to be crystal clear. And there are more than one, but the one I used was a website called Anyword, anyword.com. Okay, now what's the purpose of that? It is artificial intelligence writing your copy. I know that sounds bizarre, but you can literally go in, give it 4 keywords. It will write a title for you. Okay, if you like it, great. If you don't, it'll write another one. Once you decide what the title of your content is, It'll write the first paragraph, kind of a pithy paragraph.
Whoa. What's the name of this website again?
Anyword.com.
Anyword.com. Bill,
Okay.
did you know that existed?
You want to say yes so I look smart?
Now, so let me tell you the backstory on this thing. So I saw this and I thought to myself, this is crap. There's no way that, an article can be written by artificial intelligence. So I thought, but I'll go and take my free trial. What the heck? So I did, and it wrote a title, and I was like, that's a pretty cool title. All right. It wrote the first paragraph. I was like, well, dang, that's pretty good paragraph. How many paragraphs do you want in your blog? I said 4. So it wrote them. If I didn't like it, I could change it. I can either personally change it or I can say, I think that sucks. Write another paragraph. But in 5 minutes, I ended up with a 650-word blog that literally the computer wrote for me. What it does, apparently, is artificial intelligence goes into the Google world. I'm going to put it Google. It's not necessarily, just goes into the world. It finds what content are people searching for that are getting hits. So it synthesizes that, and then it writes an article around it that is guaranteed not to be plagiarism, and it will deliver that to you.
And just so everybody knows, Julie is keeping up with Chuck, and she's got on the book right now how you can click on any word right now and check that thing out. So I'm sorry, Chuck, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Keep going, buddy.
No, that's okay. I had a friend of mine, speaker friend of mine, who I shared this with. We were just carrying on a conversation, kind of like here. And I made some comment about it, and he typically will write short articles and put them on LinkedIn. And he said, normally I get, 350 views or so for the article. The Any Word article, he said, I got close to 10,000 hits.
Wow.
And I was like, holy crap.
Wow.
I've never gotten anything like that.
So I want everybody listening to this show, if you haven't heard anything else, you definitely learned something on that piece of information that Chuck just gave you.
I mean, the world we're coming to is that literally artificial intelligence will find out what people search for, therefore write about what people search for, so therefore more people will search for it, and you don't have to do it. Now, if I were sitting there playing with a podcast, if it's an interview, that's one thing, but if it's not, I'd let it write my content. Then I would deliver the content, audio, capture it on video, take the transcription, put it on my blog. I guarantee you one thing, you're going to get some hits and you'll be found. And in the world we live in digitally, you have to be found if you're going to sell your product and be successful.
So, Chuck, how did this guy who's an accountant, right, end up in an orange jumpsuit, right, get so technical and move in the direction of all of this stuff? Because I got to be honest with you, buddy, some days I got a hard time figuring out how to get my phone so I can take a picture fast enough. I mean, have you always been sort of this techie kind of person?
No, but okay, let me tell you this. Let's go back to Meredith for a second, okay? Because Meredith was talking about the analytics, wanting to know all the details and so forth. So I was a waste as an accountant. Let me just say that on the front end. I did not care if it balanced. If the bank statement was off by $1,092, but you have $10 million in there, it's immaterial. I don't care. A true accountant wants to get it all down to the details. And I was like, good Lord, you're wasting your time. But I could sell it. So consequently, I apparently was good at sales, sucked as accountant, and ended up ruining that whole career thing. And he ended up in an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs. But I understood over time, we all have God-given gifts. And mine are creativity and sales. So I'm creative. I like creating things. And if I can find an easier, better, more effective way to create something that can be cutting edge, that will make the difference with a small Greenville production company that gets to do work for the Center for Disease Control or NASA.
Chuck, I like that. And what you're talking to and speaking to, how much work do you do with your clients around mindset and being able to kind of shift that thinking? Because a lot of people may come in with, wait, I don't know if I can do this. Like Joe said, I'm just trying to figure out how to turn my phone on and get a picture. So how much work are you having to also do around, opening yourself up to thinking, to seeing another opportunity that lays right here? You create one piece of content that can be used in several different ways. Are you having to find yourself kind of having conversations like opening up that mindset, shifting that perspective so people can see a bigger picture here?
All the time. All the time. People will come in and they'll have an idea, well, this is what I want to do. And it's like, okay, great. I get that's your concept. The question is, who is your market? What problem do you solve? And when they stutter around the answer to that question, then the real issue is not creating video content, because that's the output to thinking about what is the mindset and how emotionally do you connect with your audience so that you can actually move the needle. So we spend more time with that than we do with the actual creation of physical video. And many times people come in with one idea and walk out with something different. And it's fun a year later to be able to look at it and say and see them, and they're like, oh my gosh, I wish I'd have done this years ago.
You know, I got to be honest with you. I've been asking questions all evening long, Tracy, and on the tubes, they're sitting over here saying, Tracy, great question.
Just because you've been asking questions doesn't mean they're great.
Exactly.
There you have it, Joe. Sometimes
Tracy got the validation.
Sometimes you don't, man. I'm just saying.
I got to tell you something, man. I need new friends, Chuck. I need them bad, buddy.
Yeah, there's no chance I'm invited back. Maybe because of Julie, but definitely not because of Joe.
Bill, you got another question, buddy?
I just like to, as much as Joe was giving you a hard time a while ago, I know that you have had a profound impact, particularly on Lake Norman. What you've been sharing the last few years, what you continue to share with business owners. I'm just thankful that we have you on the show and sharing your insight.
Well, listen, I got to tell you, this to me is fun. I mean, I don't want to leave anybody thinking I'm knocking podcasts. Podcasts are fine and they're great, but I like radio. I like terrestrial radio. I like the idea of having that conversation and know it's being blasted out there. And perhaps that's just my baby boomer mentality. But, the reality of it is you do connect with a lot of people, and that is profoundly important.
And if it surprises you, Joe doesn't know anything about podcasts. Mark Sanger here at the station doesn't let him operate the microwave.
Yeah.
Probably very safe there. I can see that.
Well, Chuck, Bill did say something. I don't think you know how much Bill and I appreciate you helping us over the years. We get every year many, I can't count them, people that come up to us and literally tell us thank you for this small business event, and they will remind us of statements that you have made, or they appreciate a speaker that we brought on the air that I didn't even know about unless Chuck introduced me to him. So you really have, and you don't know it because you live in Greensboro, right? And I know I owe you and your wife dinner, and I have yet to come up there and do that for you. But time after time, year after year, you keep helping us, my friend, and we really do genuinely appreciate it. And you are making a difference. And you might be, you know what, Bill? I think we created a celebrity here in Lake Norman. All he's got to do is get off the plane, and balloons will start to float up in the air.
He's been here. He was one of the first ones that kicked off this small business event.
Absolutely. Yeah, but since then, we turned him into a superstar.
You've done that.
If I was a superstar, you would have fed me already. I mean, I'm losing weight. I'm just telling you.
Chuck, are you hearing Joe's taking credit for your success? You hear that,
right? I hear that, and that's okay. I know somebody has to take credit for something, and it damn sure is not me. So it's fine.
So Ben, his point about the future of all of this podcast and videos and YouTubes and that sort of stuff, you are one of the people that introduced me to the fact that anybody can do this, right? That's how we met. I just ran across your podcast and I thought, wow, this is really good stuff.
Which means apparently the podcast was doing its job.
That's right. That's right.
It reached somebody
that's
that
right.
we had never connected before. So
that's right.
It's quite
that's
amazing how that
correct.
works.
Yeah. So I'm curious, when you hear Chuck talk about sort of expanding that, are you guys doing that now with your podcast?
Yeah, with what time we have capable, because with COVID, we've been doing everything via Zoom for a long time. We've done very few in person.
Right.
Everything was in person prior. We've done some in person since, but we record every Zoom video, and when we are live, we've got multiple angles of cameras going, so that way we can do the full video and audio pieces. And then we're creating a library of business clips and putting it in. Hey, here's growth content. Here's marketing content. Here's hiring content. All from our past lists or our past guests. So
Right.
that way we have video as well as the full audio.
Hey, Chuck, I'm really interested to know, are there any new speakers coming online? I mean, isn't it like a horrible time to want to be a speaker right now? What does your industry look like?
Well, here's the thing. It's almost like there's two groups of people. There are people that sit back and look and say, you know what? Wow, this has been incredible. It gives me opportunities that I never had thought about. And I'm going to stop for just a second and use Meredith as an example, because she has pre-recorded her content so that when she is unavailable, she is available and therefore can sell it. Now, think about it. People around the world can buy her content now. They don't have to send her someplace. They don't have to worry about the dates. It's available. So that's one thing. The other thing is, yeah, there's a lot of really bright people out there who recognize that using the spoken word, whether it is in person, on Zoom, via podcast, in a pre-recorded mode, but using the spoken word is powerful. So some folks are toward the end of their career and are thinking, wow, this has really changed and I don't like the new environment. And others of us are looking at it and saying, holy crap, this new environment means things have really opened up and there's a bright future ahead.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. Julie and I sold our largest business ever this year, and we did it through Zoom. I never met the buyer. And if you'd have told me I was going to do that 2 years ago, I'd have laughed at you. I mean, I've sold businesses in Statesville and in Texas, never met the buyer or seller because of Zoom. And I'm telling you, it is remarkable how the clients are accepting that, which means, Chuck, I get to do more deals, right? Because I don't have to travel to Texas to meet them.
It's opening up the clients as well, right? So I have clients that I've never met before, but we can now have a relationship. They can hire somebody that isn't down the road or in their backyard. So clients and consumers are having more choices than ever before. They don't have to settle for what's in their community. They can go after like somebody like you that is phenomenal at what you do, but maybe you're not around the corner. Well, now they can still use you.
You hear that, Chuck? He's trying to see if he gets invited back next year.
I'm trying. I've got to dig myself out of that hole. Right?
Hey, he's working it well, too. But listen, straight up, my wife and I put our house on the market, and it's kind of funny. The first person that looked at it was a jerk. I have Nest cameras everywhere, so I knew exactly what was going on, which, by the way, is really kind of cool. But he walked around the house, and there was a big black snake there, and they decided not to go in, didn't buy the house. But here's the point. The very next two people, it was a FaceTime experience. The realtor was there with her camera, phone, on FaceTime, turning it around, showing and talking about the house. That is the person that paid full asking price for the house, FaceTime, and they will not physically see the house until the day of closing.
Yeah, this is a completely. It is. You just said it, Chuck. It's a new world, buddy. We've got to go, but I want to give you a minute or so, my friend. What would you say? Because we're not just on the book. You understand? We are live on the radio. There are people right now listening, thinking about or have been thinking about their entire lives starting a small business. What would you say to them, my friend?
Well, the first thing I would say, if I'm thinking about starting a small business, I need to understand first, what problem do I solve? Now, that doesn't mean you don't have competitors in the marketplace, but there is something you solve for someone, because that's the purpose for being in business. And if I can identify the problem, I can then better identify the market, and then I'm probably going to look at what are my competitors are doing, because if I do it better, I win. And that's entrepreneurship to me.
Chuck, my friend, thank you so much, buddy.
My pleasure. Absolutely. Anytime. I love you
Thank
guys.
Chuck.
I'm going to pack my wife up and get to Greenville so I can take you and your wife to dinner someday.
You're gonna pack your wife up. Did I just hear? You're gonna pack your wife up. Not pack your bag. You're gonna pack your wife up. Okay.
And someday he'll get here. Notice the color of my hair. Let's hope it's not when I'm in a casket. Okay?
He's going to do it by video. You're going to be where you are.
That's
He's going to
right,
be over here.
Virtual.
You guys going to have a virtual dinner.
Virtual Disney.
Exactly.
Hey,
We can
Tracy,
leave
you
for
on to something there. Chuck, thank you, my friend. Thank you
you,
for
Chuck.
everything for all of the years, buddy. And I'd love to say I'll never do it again, but I'll talk to you next year, man.
All right.
Thanks, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Now, I told you that, Bill, that Chuck is one of my favorite people.
You have told me that.
My favorite person, and I know he's yours too, is getting ready to be on the Zoom call.
Right.
Do we want to I want to show one of his motivational bites, and then we're going to interview him. Okay? Then we're going to talk to him. So, Chris, can we do that? So let's show one of these short bites, and then when we come back, we're going to talk to the maker of this. He is by far one of my favorite people, and this motivational bite will show you why. Also, we did this last year as well, and it was one of the most favorite things that people told me they really, really enjoyed.
Sure. Steve Gilliam. Ready for that, Chris?
Several years ago, I walked into a Taco Bell restaurant in Lubbock, Texas at 9:30 at night, and the young man behind the counter who was leaning on the cash register said, "What's up?" I said, "What's up?" He then replied, "Yeah, you need something?" I said to him, "I want a beef burrito, but I'm a little worried." He said, "About what?" I said, "Since I arrived, you haven't even moved an inch, so I'm not sure you have the energy to go get it." He then said, "Man, you have to understand, I've been here since 6, and I'm burned out." I said, "This morning?" He said, "No, man, the other 6 o'clock." I then replied that you're not burnt out, to which he replied, "How do you know?" I said, and I quote, "You can't burn out because I don't think you've ever been lit." You can't burn out unless you've been on fire. Let me share this with you. When diminished interest collides with a chronic lack of ambition, you can't blame it on burnout. Burnout is a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. It occurs when you feel overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and unable to meet constant demands. On the other hand, ambition is not an inborn trait. It can be learned and cultivated, the same as any other positive trait. A lack of ambition can certainly be overcome. Ambition is the desire to escape mediocrity, which, incidentally, is the place where most people choose to live. Ambitious people understand there are no shortcuts to fulfillment, contentment, and living a meaningful life. They know that life is nothing short of hard work, and that to succeed, you must do the heavy lifting. Ambition is about pushing all your chips to the middle of the table and going all in. Prove your family, friends, neighbors, and the world wrong. Master your craft and become one of the best. Your ambition will always drive you forward. Ambition is defined as a strong drive for success. This drive is a common trait in anyone who has created significant success or left any significant mark on the world. Anyone who has moved the world forward in any meaningful way has had ambition. Through sheer will and burning ambition, Jeff Bezos has made Amazon's ambitions seem boundless. Triumphant in online retail, cloud computing, organic groceries, and streaming television, Amazon has redefined limitless ambition. It wasn't a Princeton education that got the job done. It was a burning desire put into action towards a vision. We can easily assume that this kind of burning desire is not common because we don't see it in everyday life. You have to find something that anchors you, something that keeps you looking forward. A dream without ambition is like a car without gas. You're not going anywhere. Never wait for your ship to come in. Always go out and meet it. Talented people hit targets no one else can hit. Ambitious people hit targets no one else can see.
Is a member of the Speakers Hall of Fame and honor bestowed on only 227 men and women worldwide since 1977. In 2015, eSpeakers recognized him as one of the top 10 motivational speakers in the world from over 9,000 candidates. In addition to being one of the most sought-after speakers in the world, he's a prolific and accomplished author, evidenced by 6 of his books becoming bestsellers, and him being named Author of the Year for his book, Enjoy the Ride. He recently was recognized by Forbes as North America's most award-winning speaker, Steve Gilliland. Steve, 3 years ago at a program, I've been in this profession for 30 years. I've heard hundreds of speakers. You said something so profound. You asked, can you name the 5 most influential people in your life beside your parents? And everybody started thinking, and then you said, are you on somebody's list? I have thought about that ever since. That was so profound. That was a magical moment, and I've enjoyed your books and your tapes. And I encourage anyone that's listening tonight, please go out, look on Amazon, download those books. If you're on a ride, get those tapes because they are absolutely insightful.
Steve, thank you so much, buddy, for being here. Honestly, I say thank you to Steve so much during the year because I asked Steve to do so much for me and small business owners, and he always says yes. And so thank you again, my friend. You know, and I've said this before, you are Bill's favorite speaker of all the 9 years that we've had. There isn't a conversation about this event that Bill and I don't have that he wants to remember something you said at the very first talk that you had as well, my friend. And I just adore you, buddy, because you practice what you preach. You do what you say, and you have just been there for us in the Chamber and Small Business for many, many years, buddy. Thank you so much for doing this for us.
You're so welcome. It is absolutely an honor. And I always say it's a privilege to get to do what I do. And every day I wake up, just to be able to encourage people. And, the program that I did for you a few years ago, one of the things that I did mention too, and I believe that all of us tonight, and every day we wake up, we can change in a single moment the trajectory of someone's life. And I think that's so important for me. And that's why I'm here. Of course, flattery gets you everywhere, and you guys have been very flattering. So,
we'll keep it flowing, buddy. We'll keep it flowing. I want to talk a little bit, Steve, about the motivational bites. Julie and I just absolutely love them. We talk about them. That we share them on our website. I mean, not our website, but our emails that we send out monthly. And you're so gracious to allow us to do that. Talk about the motivation of putting together the motivational bites, because they seem timeless to me. In business, we'd call that sort of an evergreen product that you've created.
Well, it all came about, and quite frankly, it was from people that would hire me to speak. I would come in, I would do an event, and multiple people, and I'm not exaggerating, not embellishing, they would say to me, man, I wish we could have you every Monday. And I would smile and say, hey, you know what? Call us up. I'll be there. And of course, they would laugh, and I would laugh, and I would walk away. And then during the pandemic, it hit me that the digital learning piece was about to explode, and employers were trying to figure out, how do I keep employees engaged? And it doesn't matter if you have 10 employees or 10,000 employees. So what I did is I filmed, and it was a 6-month project. I filmed 52 motivation bites on relevant workplace topics. And I call them performance essentials in the workplace. And just to give you an idea, when we launched this, we had no idea how far-reaching it would be in the industries that it would touch. And just last week, I got an email, and I brought it because sometimes people think, well, it was a PDF from a company, and I'm going to put it like this so you can see it. It was a PDF where American Credit Acceptance, a very large company down in South Carolina, and if you want to know what this PDF, this went out to all their employees, and it goes out every single week, and it says, ACA presents Motivational Mondays. Steve Gilliland coming every Monday. And basically, they take the topic, and on this one, it simply said, this week's topic is honesty. And it's one of their guiding principles, as a matter of fact. And it says, let's start the week being motivated and challenged to display our integrity. Companies have used these, schools have used these, a lot of places have used these to inspire their employees to get ready for the week. So for me, it was just it, and I don't want to use the word no-brainer because it was no-brainer. I'd have done it years ago, but it became evident during the pandemic that the digital side of things, the engaging them by video was something they needed. And the 4 to 5 minutes was intentional because, retention, keeping somebody's attention. And of course, we added a lot of B footage, as you saw on the bite that you played. And it's just been, honestly, Joe, it is beyond my wildest dreams how it has been received by organizations.
Well, Steve, let me tell you this, buddy. I know Chuck's good, and he helped you put those together. And I'm sure those motivational ideas are great. But, buddy, you presenting it is what makes them work. I tell Julie all the time, because I advise a lot of small business people, the idea is not what's important. It's the implementation of the idea, and you do it exceptional. And here's why, buddy, because you're believable, you're genuine. I don't think I'm saying something that, well, it might embarrass you a little bit. 2 years ago, you had been diagnosed with cancer. You were on the show. You still did the talk. You told me that you were diagnosed. I didn't say anything because you asked me not to. A year later, you came back. You were free and clear of that, did another show, and did not mention it either time that you had been gone through and you had these illnesses. And it was just for a guy like me on the outside to watch you going through a very personal, tough time, but man, you still delivered on motivational talks. You're the real deal, buddy, and I just adore you, and I cannot thank you enough for everything that you do, not just for me personally, but when small business people are looking for a way through and out, these motivational bites absolutely provide that. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about how your last year has been, because it's still not a great time to be out speaking, is it?
Well, I got to level with you. First of all, I want to say, you mentioned Chuck. When you watch NASCAR and you watch any kind of racing, they always, it's the driver. And I appreciate what you just said, but I got to level with you. If you don't have the right car with the right engine and a great crew, you're not going anywhere. Right. And these motivation bites, I could not have done them. And quite frankly, they would not look like they look if it wasn't for Chuck Gallagher, Primo Productions, and the team that he put together to do them. So first and foremost, I want to just say, I appreciate your compliment towards me as the speaker and delivering the message, but I got to level with you. We got so many comments on the footage that Chuck put together, his team, and the team he put on it. In terms of where I'm at now, 2022, and this is where I want to get people excited. 2022 for me, now I only speak for me, is probably going to even be busier than 2019. I have been, the phone continues to ring, the inquiries continue to come in, so it's been really good. Another thing that I was going to share with you, and I think the people that are viewing this and your listeners will be interested, that one on ambition, and Chuck Gallagher will verify this, several of those were filmed post-surgery while I still had a drain after my surgery for cancer. So for me, it was something that Chuck brought in a recliner. The guy brought me a recliner and I would film one. I'd have a treatment, be completely exhausted, But for me now, I've got my strength back, and I better have it back because my schedule right now is exploding for the rest of 2022. Quite frankly, people are back and they want to hear it. And sometimes people will say to me, are you doing a lot of virtual? I got to level with you. People are wanting to get together now. They're wanting to get together in person, and the conferences and the conventions that I'm speaking at, the numbers are hitting records. By the way, that's another thing.
And Bill,
a conference that used to have 400 people is now having 550 people.
And Bill, that doesn't surprise you, does it?
No, I mean, we had our annual meeting the other night, and we had 240. It was a sold-out event.
Steve, let me say something. I just want to first thank you for all that you're doing and all that you're putting out there. Literally, watching that clip, I felt it. I had chills over here. I could feel that. And so your own messaging, Target hits things that no one can. Talent hits targets no one else can hit. Ambition hits talents no one else can see. And you just described that, saying when you did that, you had no clue how that was going to impact the world because you did it through ambition. Have you noticed during this pandemic, has that showed people that they haven't necessarily been on fire? I think what we've seen, a lot of people during this pandemic realized they were just in a job, right? Had no real attachment or emotional energy to what they were doing. It brought home a paycheck. Have you seen it really kind of start to set people on fire or to identify, maybe I haven't been on fire? What have you noticed?
Well, the one thing I did notice, and great point, during the pandemic, people got stuck. They were not moving forward. Everybody just kind of got stuck. We were getting bombarded with messaging that, quite frankly, and I don't want to be disparaging. I feel like there was a lot of negativity, and people just got stuck. Then all of a sudden, it was like, okay, how do we get moving? What I had mentioned and it was a virtual program I did, and it really hit home, was that you got to reconnect with your why. You have to reconnect with why you do what you do, because purpose is what drives us. And if you're going to get moving forward, you got to get that drive back. So you make a very, very good point. We just needed to make sure that we reconnected with why we did what we did. Purpose drives us and passion fuels us. It's the fuel that gets us excited, but it's the drive, that purpose that really got us moving. And for me, quite frankly, what I went through really literally reconnected me with my why. Why do I do what I do? And just continue to move forward. So I think my message now is you got to keep moving forward with purpose.
So Steve, I want to build on that a little bit, right? So Tracy talked about she's watching that. It's a 4 to 5 minute video. She's getting chills. How, as a small business leader, do you then take this Motivational Monday where somebody sees 4 or 5 minutes and make that lasting to where it's not a quick snippet of motivation and then they fall back into the routine? How do you make this last for these employees and these people so it becomes a habit to where now they can raise themselves and truly be on fire like you're talking about?
Well, I think it's got to be a discussion point for the week. And I think when I showed you the American Credit Acceptance piece, and I was, Jody Powell is their HR director down there, and he said to me, this is what we're going to do. We're going to reinforce your message, and that will be our theme for that week. I had a CEO from a company, and I had a school superintendent who's using them in their school system do the same. For small business, it's the same thing. It is the centerpiece of that week, or, and I've got some that are doing it every other week. But the point is, whether I'm talking about perspective, whether I'm talking about character, whether I'm talking about honesty, no matter what the subject matter. And by the way, there's fun. There are topics in there that you can discuss. But I think what it does is it kind of raises the bar. It not only raises the bar and motivates the employee, but it raises the bar for leadership, the person that owns that small business, to make sure that here we go again, it's not about practicing what you preach, it's making sure that those actions, this message that you believe in, your actions match that belief. So they're going to watch you. So as an employer, it's something that really goes both ways. And I think that is really what has helped as it is being heard, not just by the employee, but by the management who is giving that to them, or in a small business, the owner.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense, right? Because then it's not just a 4-minute video, nobody ever talks about it and they move on. That's kind of lip service, right? Mm-hmm. So I really like that point of you have this motivational bite, and then how do you build off that? How do you create that to be part of your culture? So I love that. Thanks, Steve.
Okay,
You're
so
welcome.
you are listening to Steve Gillian. He is my favorite man on the planet. You know that, don't you, Bill?
Absolutely. Mine too.
So, Steve, last time we talked, you were on the Local Biz Now show. You were building a barn. Did you get the barn built?
The barn is built, and my wife calls it, well, I'm not going to tell you what my wife calls it. It's built, and anytime I'm in it, she's happy. That's all I'm going to say.
Sure, it's a whole hell of a lot better looking than my barn.
So, Steve, I would like for you to, we're live on the radio. We're also live on the book, right? All of the people listening out there on the radio, they're thinking about starting a small business. They've given it thought half their lives, What is it you would consider telling them?
The thing that I would tell them is, the thing that probably holds most people back is the fear. And I think for me, I take the other F word, and that's the freedom. It's the freedom to know that you got to take the first step. And then once you take that first step, you can't look back. The other thing that I've always, Warren Buffett, and everybody hopefully knows the name Warren Buffett. Buffett said something in his book that just struck me. He said, you got to die to the ego. So no ego, but you also, you can't be comparing yourself. So for small businesses, when you go into business, what you have to do is have your own. It's kind of like, in sports, football, they'll say, you got to find your identity. My thing is get over the fear, understand that you are going to have some bumps in the road. But what you go through in life, and here's the thing in small business, what you go through initially, it's either going to make you bitter or better or stronger or weaker. The challenges that you have, you're going to grow from those. But the biggest thing is get over the fear, just have no ego as you begin this, and make sure, it's so ironic. I always talk about honesty. Just absolutely always do what's right. And I'm a faith-based guy. I just believe too that, you just go forward, have faith, and just believe in yourself, because I know that some people sometimes they just shut out the noise. And if I gave you that piece of advice, just shut out the noise, because there's too many people that are going to not be behind you, and too many people that are going to say, well, what if and what if? No, shut out the noise. Just move forward. Don't be fearful. And whatever you do, just exercise the faith that you really do have, not just in yourself, but in God.
So Steve, one more question, buddy. So you say you're really packing it in with bookings. What's the talk about? What are they wanting you to talk about? Has that changed?
Well, I tell you what. Years ago, when I started, it was always about, when I wrote the book Enjoy the Ride, everybody wanted to hear enjoy the ride, enjoy the ride. True joy of life is in the trip, and then of course making a difference. We heard that earlier, and that's what I actually did, for the small business event. But they're back to enjoy the ride. I mean, right now they want people to understand, and it's got to be something that we begin to, and I'll give you one here. Stop giving people permission to ruin your day. Just stop.
I love that.
Don't give people, and don't give circumstances permission to ruin your day. And basically what they're wanting to hear is, how do we now get back to enjoying the ride?
Thanks, buddy. My friend, I cannot thank you enough. We got to get moving. I cannot throw enough love out to you, my friend. For those of you that like Steve as much as I do, we've got another motivational bite coming up before the end of the show. So stay tuned. Steve Gillian, you are the man, buddy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate all of you. Incredible panel, by the way, Joe. I mean, you're looking good, but that panel's looking pretty good.
Yeah, I got to step it up to keep up with these guys, Steve. Thank you, man.
I was going to say, they're making you look good tonight.
Enjoy the ride, Steve.
You are listening to WSIC Statesville, serving Iredell County, Taylorsville, Hickory with 100.7 and 1400 AM. This is WSIC 105.9 FM, 100.7 FM, 1400 AM. I am Joe Vagnone. You're here with Bill Russell, Tracy, and Ben, the signature 9th annual small business event of the year. And you just heard Steve Gilliland, and you're bit. For now, let's go to the next speaker. Chris, you got that lined up and ready to go?
You don't really have it lined up and
right.
ready to go.
I can do the intro while he's getting it set up.
Hi, I'm Nancy Friedman, founder and chairman of Telephone Doctor Customer Service Training in St. Louis, Missouri, and obviously thrilled to be here with Joe, Ben, and Julie, and all of you from Lake Norman Chamber. You know, Chambers started my career many years ago. I'm a small business myself, so helping small businesses is a passion that comes from the heart. I believe you'll see that today. All right, so we're going to play a little game called Golden Nuggets of Customer Service. Ready? Now, I'm not drinking here. Normally I have a little bag and people pick the nuggets, but because you're not able to pick a nugget, I'm going to pick them. Now, I know what's in here. I know the nuggets that are in here. And nuggets you'll see are just one or two words that help small businesses along. So I know what they're in here. I know what's in here, but I do not know the order of which they will come. So it will be a surprise to me as well. At the end of 15, 20 minutes, I'll give you a little more information on me, but I wanted to get the program started because the content is the most important for small business. All right? And somebody remind me to talk about the 4 C's of communication. All right? And if you don't remind me, I'll remind myself. All right, here we go. A little drum roll, please. You ready? All right, so I'm going to stick my hand in. I usually have an assistant, but Vanna White could not be here today. I don't know what she's doing. Let's see what I got. All right, I got tone of face. That's right, tone. I'm going to throw these on the floor. I'll let my husband pick them up. Good exercise, don't you think? Or I can wait till the cleaning woman comes next Thursday. Either way, it's on the floor. Tone of face. What do we mean by that? I'll tell you. I went shopping many years ago to a nice ladies' store here in St. Louis, and I bought a lot of clothes. You don't need to know how much, but I bought a lot of clothes. And we were talking and chatting. I was the only one in the store, so they made a nice sale. And as we were walking out, they said, all right, have a nice day. And I'm walking, my back is towards them. And as I got to the door, I turned around to say thank you again. And these 2 women are going, like, thank God she's gone, or eyes crossed, I don't know. And I just said, really? They had a tone of face that never should have been. If you're not happy with someone when they walk into your establishment, hold the smile, make sure they are 40 miles away before you start talking about them. Tone of face is very important. It's at the start of every conversation, should last through until the end. So I'm glad we started with tone of face, but I would have been glad to start with anything because these little nuggets will help every single small business and large. And you know what? Here's a bonus for you. Every technique I'm sharing with you transfers over to your personal life and includes all 6 touch points of communication: email, voicemail, snail mail, phone, face. Yeah, I think the email, voicemail, snail mail, phone, face, fax is what I missed. Anyway, there's 6. Oh, chat makes it 7. I lied. The bottom line, it doesn't matter what method of communication you use. Every one of these nuggets works. I promise you. All right, let's shake them up a little. Okay, here we go. I'm not looking. Let's see what I get. I wanted this to be the first or the last, but it's close enough to the top. And the golden nugget simply says, if you can see that, I'm not sure. Dick, can they see it? That's all right, leave it alone. All right, yeah, you got it? Look how good he is. I got such a handsome producer, director, my husband. So the smile I'm going to put in my pocket, because if you take nothing else away from this program, take the word smile. That's right. It's in every language. It speaks to everybody, and it's so important. You know, a lot of people say, Nancy, do you smile all the time? Yes. Yes, I smile all the time, no matter what happens, because no matter what happens to me, if I fight with my husband or I get a flat tire or something bad happens, it's not that person's fault. And that's what we call emotional leakage, when you leak over with somebody. I was at the grocery store a while back, and the clerk's throwing her stuff into the bag. And I said, whoa, wait a minute, you're going to hurt my vegetables and my fruit. She says, and she used a word that I never used. She says, I'm frustrated. She didn't say that. She used a P word. She says, I'm really frustrated. I had a fight with my boyfriend. I think we broke up. I said, was I with you? And she smiled. She said, no. I said, well, then don't take it out on me. I said, you are emotional leaking. And my husband stepped up and said, Nancy, stop trying to train people one by one by one. But it was important for me. I wasn't with her and her boyfriend. Anyway, back to the smile. It doesn't matter what happened to you. It's not that nobody cares, but nobody cares. It's just that simple. So keeping a little smile no matter what happens it's part of doing business. All right? A telephone doctor, that smile on the phone, in person, to each other is a condition of employment grounds for termination. There's a lot of those sort of rules around our house. Okay, around our house, yeah, and our business. Let's see what else we got here. We got some good ones here. Yes, the three-part greeting. Three-part greeting. I'm going to throw that on the floor too. What does that mean? Well, it doesn't matter where I go. Everybody's got a different way of answering the phone. Some just say hello. Some just go, Acme. But there is for lack of a better word, a more effective method to answering a telephone. So if you're in business and you have a business, consider going to our three-part greeting. It's very simple. You have a buffer, you have a company name, and you have your name. So a buffer sets up the most important part of any conversation. In this case, it's going to be your company name. So you want to say, good morning, good afternoon, thanks for calling, whatever you want. People say to me all the time, well, Nancy, what do you say, a telephone doctor? We say thanks for calling. Well, why do you say thanks for calling, Nancy? Well, I'll tell you why. Because half the time years ago at the office, at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, somebody said, good morning, or at 9 a.m. in the morning, they said, good afternoon. They got all mixed up. And I said, hey, ladies, should we just make it generic and say thanks for calling? Oh, they love that. So now we never make a mistake when answering the phone at the time of day. Isn't that neat? Okay. Thanks for calling. Then you use your company name. Thanks for calling telephone doctor. Now identify yourself. Thanks for calling telephone doctor. This is Nancy. Stop. How can I help you is not necessary on an initial greeting when you're answering the phone. You're there to help. That's why you answered the phone. Hello? So if you're saying, how can I help you? You'll still go to heaven. It'll be okay. It's just not necessary. Hi, thanks for calling telephone doctor. This is Nancy. Stop. Two things happen when you address the three-part greeting. Number one, it speeds the rapport building process. It speeds which is what you're looking for anyway. And number two, which is the most fun part, 99, maybe I'm going to go 99% because somebody will catch me. 99% of the time when you leave your last name first. That makes sense? Hi, thanks for calling telephone doctor. This is Nancy. The other person says, well, hi, Nancy. This is Joe. You know which Joe I mean. Oh, hi, Joe. Nice to talk with you. And I write his name down right away. No matter what it is. Vagnone. Joe, how are you saying your last name? We never really got to that. That's a different one. It could be Vagnone. Could be a lot of ways. I'm not trying to insult. I'm just trying to find the right way. But the bottom line, it doesn't matter how it sounds. You just write down the first name if they give it to you, because that's really all you need. If you don't write the first name down, you could come into the issue of, what was your name again? And we don't want that. What was your name again is a big, fat X. Well, how do you get around that, Nancy? Here's how you get around that. It's a simple little technique I devised many years ago. I was in World down in Florida, and I either lost or my wallet was stolen. And I don't need to tell you what's in your wallet, your driver's license, the heck with the money, but all the credit cards, yada, yada, yada. I was devastated. So I called MasterCard, the first one I could think of, and I very nicely, as I always do, said, hi, my name is Nancy Friedman, and I'm down here in Disneyland, and somebody stole or I lost my wallet. What do I do? And the words out of her voice was, out of her whatever, what was your name again? And I said, it's still Nancy Friedman. I haven't changed it. All she needed to do was say, wow, I'm so sorry that happened. I apologize. I missed your name. My name is Sally, and I'm here to help. And I'm speaking with Nancy. Did you get that technique on how to get a name when you miss it, don't understand it? Some people, have no vowels in their last name, so it's difficult to understand them. Let's go over that one more time. Tell me your name again? No, we're not going to say that. We are going to say, I apologize. I know you just said your name, and I missed it. I'm Nancy, and I'm speaking with, thank you, Joe, appreciate that. and I write Joe's name down, and I have it there on my right-hand side 100% of the time. Phew. All right. So that was one of them. I have this. I don't think I threw that one away, so we may. Okay. You ready? How many are having fun? Good. I like to see that. I like to see that. You know, I usually give prizes, but this is difficult. Maybe I will give a prize. Julie, if you'll take note of who answers that. Okay, this is, well, these are all like my children. I love them all, and they're all great techniques. If you're in business, you need to be a double checker. You need to be a double checker. I'm throwing that on the floor because the cleaning lady comes Thursday. You need to be what does that mean? That means you need to be a double checker. Somebody asks you something. Well, let me give you a true story. I called a shoe store. Well, I walked by the shoe store, and I saw a pair of red pumps I wanted. And I walked in, and there's a very defensive woman standing there. And she said, yes, can I help you? And I said, yeah, I saw that pair of red pumps. Do you have them in size 9.5, please? She said, we're out. I said, you didn't even look. She said, no, we're out. I sold the last pair yesterday. And I thought a moment, and I thought, would you do me a favor? She said, what's that? Like, God forbid she should help me. She said, what's that? I said, maybe, did you go to lunch yesterday? She said, yes. I said, well, maybe while you were at lunch, somebody brought them back or put them in the wrong place. Could you double check for me if they're there? And she said, I sold the last pair. I said, humor me. Okay, thank you. Well, you know how she went out, shoulders shrugged and schlepped out. She came up 5 minutes later with a box under her arm, and I said, that wouldn't happen to be my red pumps, 9.5 medium. She said, well, somebody put them in the wrong place. Blame her. Don't you love blamers? Somebody else put them in the wrong place. She could have said, hey, I found them. It's your lucky day. Go buy a lottery ticket. There's so many ways to keep people happy. So double check everything. Another true story, and this boggled my travel agent's mind. We were going on a cruise, and I said, I've got the cabin I want. And she looked, she said, oh, it's sold. It's gone. I said, really? I said, could you double check? She said, Nancy, I've checked for 3 people. That's a very popular cabin. I said, I know, but I'm told in the travel industry, things change quickly. Again, I said, humor me, just double check. She said, okay, I'll call you back tomorrow. Well, she called me about 20 minutes later and said, goodness gracious, it's been released. It's yours. These are just little ideas and tips and skills and techniques that will help your business. Be a double checker. Don't be prepared to say, no, we're out. You can say, the last time I checked, we didn't have that, but let me double check for you. Number one, you make the customer feel fabulous, even if it's on the telephone. The last time I checked, we were out, but if you give me your number, I'll double check and we will call you back. I'm telling you, there are times when you will find, whoops, we have it. I didn't need to tell the customer no. Phew. Having fun? I hope you are. I love these techniques. They make every business just a little bit better. So you take what you want. I'm going to look. Make sure you don't see. What is this one? Oh, we had tone of face, right? And that's so important. Now I chose tone of voice because the two go together. We know that when you smile, when you talk, your voice changes. It just does. Ask any radio announcer, television person. We know that the commercial sounds better when we're saying something with a smile. If I stood here and said, okay, tone of voice, we're going to talk about tone of voice now. Tone of voice is very important that you say everything with a smile. I mean, it just loses everything, does it not? So put that, my husband came up with a fabulous saying. A phony smile is better than a real frown. Yeah. A phony smile is better than a real frown. And we don't mean an idiot's grin. We just mean a normal, keep your smile open, your face on a little upward skin. So tone of voice is so important because it comes from here. And yes, people can tell when you're smiling on the phone. Trust me, they can. All right, we got a few others here. All right, so they're whipping them up. See, okay, here we go. Ha! I have this on my mirror. But my mirror has 2 other words when I put my makeup on in the morning. This one says enthusiasm. Oh, you can't drink while you're doing this. Enthusiasm. Humor, enthusiasm, and smiling. That's what's on my mirror. So every morning I get up, I'm putting my makeup on, and I look at those 3 words, and I know that my clients, my customers, my friends, my family, all expect me to have the same enthusiasm. So don't lose your enthusiasm. If you don't have enthusiasm for what you're doing, maybe you're doing in the wrong business. And that happens. We don't have a good match. But if you're working and if you're having a good time, you can't fake enthusiasm. That has to come from the heart. Okay. I got a signal that we're about 15 minutes, but I'm going to take the 20 that Julie said I could have. Oh, this is the best. I'm so glad we got this in. 4 useless words. Yeah, there's a lot of useless words, but these are the worst. You ready? We have removed them from our lives at my office and my home. And that's when you see somebody or you talk with somebody on the phone and the first words out of your mouth are, hi, how are you? And the second words out of their mouth is, fine, thank you, how are you? What has happened? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Nancy doesn't like when nothing happens. So there are 22 other things you can say when you see somebody. Hey, haven't seen you in a while. Good to hear from you. Hi, thanks for calling. Glad you called. I mean, there's 4 or 5 right there off the bat from the top of my head. Stop with the hi, how are you? Fine, thanks, how are you? Now, when somebody does it to me, because not everybody is a believer or has heard this technique, say I get a call, and the first words out of their mouth, hi, Nancy, Bill Smith, how are you? I go, fine, thank you. I'm glad you called. I don't give it back to him, hoping he'll take a hint. Not that I don't care, but it doesn't do anything. Hi, how are you? Fine, thanks, how are you? You know, we all, when we used to go to the malls and you'd see a friend and you pass in the halls, hi, how are you, Bill? Good, thanks, how are you? I mean, we don't even hear the answer sometimes. So those are 4 useless words. There's probably more, but honest to gosh, they're useless. They don't do anything for you, your business, your family. I'm going to do a couple more, and then I'm going to sign off with my website and the phone number and all the ways you can get me except my weight. Okay. Okay. Good one to close the program with. Resist negative tendencies. Resist negative tendencies. We all, myself included, have times when negativity sometimes comes into our lives. And I push it out as best I can. So we have a program on Telephone Doctor on our serviceskills.com. If you go to www.serviceskillswithans.com, you'll see the whole e-learning platform. It's there for you to get a demo. Look for the program under Telephone Doctor for the 5 forbidden phrases. 5 forbidden phrases. Funny that we got this at the end. Time does not allow me to give you all of them. Let me give you the first one. Somebody calls you and asks you something. I don't care what it is. It could be how late are you open. I don't care what the question is. And the person answering the phone says, gee, I don't know. Well, that's a forbidden phrase. It's 5 forbidden phrases. That's the first one. I don't know is as abrupt and negative as you can get. So the answer is when they ask you something that you don't have instant access information is, gee, that's a real good question. Let me go double check. If you're able to hold, I'll get you that information. Now, I've got thousands of techniques for you, literally thousands. I hope I get to come back. Lake Norman Chamber, thank you very much. Joe, Julie, hey, Ben, you're the cutie. You're all cute. I am blessed to know you all. I'm so glad to be at the 9th annual Small Business, I guess it is. Small business runs this country. God bless you all. Thank you for having me.
So I was extremely fortunate to be co-hosting when Nancy came on as a guest. So I'm going to do a quick introduction for those of you that do not know Nancy yet. She is the founder and chairman of Telephone Doctor Customer Service Training. She's a popular speaker in all industries covering her specialty of customer service, communications, and sales. And I want to jump right into the conversation. Nancy, thank you so much for coming on and joining us today. And also for calling me cute, right? Bonus points for that.
Nancy! Keep it up. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Chris, did you have me muted for the whole thing there?
I'm not muted.
I can hear you, Nancy. I can hear you, darling. Nancy, thank you so much. Remember, this is live radio, so I've only got about 10 minutes with you, and I want to share all of them with some of the great ideas that you have. You were on the show with Ben, and one of the favorite things that you did while you were on the show, you tested my cell phone and decided whether my voicemail was good or not. And I was
Loser.
Yeah. And so I wanted to know if we can't go through that really quick. There were 3 or 4 things you just told people, don't do this for your voicemail. I'd love to go over those.
Let's go over them, and thanks again for having me. All right, the first one is, hi, I'm not at my desk right now, or hi, I can't come to the phone right now. Well, duh, I mean, your voicemail answered. We know that. So that's actually a useless phrase, and it's a frustration. Sorry, I missed you. That's another one. I'm sorry I missed your call. You know, sometimes we're not. Sometimes it's that little old lady who's been calling and calling and calling. It's a useless phrase. People know you're sorry they missed you. So you don't need that. And I'll tell you in a moment who made these 5 frustrating voicemail phrases. Here's a I call it the groaner. Your call is very important to me. Yeah, well, then why aren't you there? And to big companies and small businesses who say, you know, your call is very important to us. Bull. All right, get that off your system. It's useless. The other one I want to talk to you about is people say, well, why is this one bad? Please go ahead and leave your name and number, and I'll return your call as soon as possible. What's wrong with that, Nancy? What's wrong with that is because your as soon as possible is different from your as soon as possible. And we will never exceed anybody's expectations with as soon as possible.
So, Nancy,
yeah.
On that one, do you want people to be more specific? Do you want them to lay out of, hey, our goal in our business is to get back to you?
They only need to say, thanks, Ben, that's a good point. They only need to say, go ahead and leave your name and number, and I will return your call. Boom, done. That's it. You don't need to say when or where. I mean, as soon as possible is a given. It is a given. The last one is having no exit plan, no plan B. You know, for any reason, if this is an emergency, please call my assistant. Her number is 314, yada, yada, yada. Call Joe Vagnone, you know, call Ben McDonald, you know, or, you know, here's my email, Nancy@telephonedoctor.com. That's telephonedoctor.com. So there's just I'll bet the people on the panel and the people listening, when was the last time you called your own voicemail message to hear it, to what it says?
Well,
I'm telling you.
You know, Nancy, we did that when you were on the show, and it was so enlightening. I went back and changed my voicemail message immediately. So it really was helpful, which is why I wanted to go over it again. We've only got about 5 minutes. I want to talk to you. I asked you a question when you were on the show last time. Ben, do you remember this? I asked you, why is it Chick-fil-A is absolutely awesome
at
customer service,
right?
And I can go to, and I don't want to pick a particular other drive-through, but you name it, and it just frustrates. By the time I leave that drive-through, I'm frustrated. Instead of Chick-fil-A, I actually feel good. Why is that, Nancy? One can do it and one cannot.
One word, Joe. One word: training. The big T. They have a wonderful training department, a wonderful training director. I've talked to him. I can't think of his name now because I interviewed him many years ago. I wanted to know the same thing. Why are you guys so good? Number one, their hiring process is, can't think of the word I'm looking, but it's near flawless. I mean, they look for good, healthy young people, not necessarily religious, you know, because they're just good people. They put them through a good training program, and I'm going to bet that it's a condition of employment grounds for termination, which is like what we have. You know, this is the way we do business, and if you want to stick around and and they probably pay well too. So training is so important. It's not just here's how we do it, goodbye. It's a process, and I don't believe the other companies have a training program that is a process.
Okay. Now, you mailed me before this show this right here. Why did you mail this to me? Explain that to me. I think I know, but I want the people listening. And for those of you that can't see me on Facebook, she's got this popsicle stick with a big smile on it. Explain that.
Well, we have a saying, a phony smile is better than a real frown. My husband made that, a phony smile. So sometimes you don't feel like smiling, you can put that on and just go, hi, you know, I feel really crappy today. How are you? So smiling makes such a difference. You know that, I know that. Small business, that should be a ground rule in every business, but small business, it's just so important. You know, I am a small business. I've been a small business for over 40 years. And
You got one.
our livelihood depends on how we treat people.
Right.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah. So Nancy, we talked a lot last time that I want us to be able to expand on today of when you're going in and you're talking to companies and you're talking about customer service and experience and things like that, what are one or two of the major mistakes that you see these companies make?
Oh, wow. That's my list goes long.
Yeah, that's why I said one or two, right? We could talk for an hour about it.
Not greeting immediately. I've been in stores where they're addressing, especially a retail store. Well, they'll let me walk around, and I can walk out, and no one has said a word to me. Sometimes all they say is, "Can I help you?" No, I'm just browsing. Well, that's all you get when I say, "Can I help you?" You know, if you're going to help somebody, say, "You look terrific. What are you looking for today?" You know, what are you looking for? Is better than, "Can I help you?" What are you looking for? Well, I'm going to a wedding. I was looking for something, a little sparkle doo-doo. Well, come on over here. I'll show you this. The warmth and caring that we can give in retail, and it can be, I don't care if it's a grocery store, and you know the good ones, the Whole Foods and the Trader Joe's. When you ask for something, "Where's the ketchup?" They don't say aisle 4 or "It's over there." What do? They stop what they're doing, and they take you to the item.
Nancy,
Class act.
Nancy, why is it that you have such a successful business at something I think seems simplistic? It boggles my mind that you have a successful business, right? Nobody should need to call Nancy, but it seems like everybody needs Nancy.
Thank you. Telephone Doctor and ServiceSkills.com has never been better or stronger right now. I believe the COVID helped us, sadly as it sounds, because people forgot how to be nice on their phones at home. That's number one. I'm getting an awful lot of calls with this message. We're getting a whole new, I can't think of the word, generation of people. They're young people coming out of college. Our curriculum is not in high school or college. What we share, what we teach, what we know is not in any curriculum in any school that I know of. Oh, they may cover it very lightly. They don't get out of college with a degree in etiquette and skills. They just don't. So you got to come Telephone Doctor or ServiceSkills.com. By the way, that website, TelephoneDoctor.com, will get you, but you also want NancyFriedman.com. NancyFriedman.com.
Because that's how I found you, with some of your videos, and I saw this crazy woman, and I thought, I love this woman. I just adore her. And next thing I know, I had you on the radio, and I'm sure I'm going to have you on the radio many, many times before.
I loved it.
Thank Nancy. We have to go. I could spend an hour with you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the video. Let's do that again. Thank you, Nancy.
Absolutely. Ben, thank you.
Yeah, thank you too,
And
Nancy.
the two timid gentlemen I didn't meet, thank you too. And the pretty lady over there. So anyway, the guy on the right, he likes me, and he didn't. Nobody introduced me. That's not fair. Hey, wait. Dick,
no, I like that. I like the surprise. Nancy was surprised. You are listening to WSIC 105.9 FM, 100.7 FM, 1400 AM. This is Signature 9th Annual Small Business Event of the Year. Thank you so much for listening to that. We now have our next video. We're moving right along. This is absolutely the person that Ben needs to be introducing.
That's right. So our next speaker is Gary Fry. Gary's a connector, MacGyver, and a confidant for CEOs, as well as my co-host on the Anything But Typical podcast, where we feature vulnerable, behind-the-scenes stories of ripple-making entrepreneurs to encourage others. Gary's served as president of 4 successful companies, including BizJournals.com, which each helped transform from a 3-person organization to a $100 million company. When he's not running businesses or helping CEOs create things, he does Murph every Monday. Make sure you Google that. He's a triathlete, drummer, father of 2 grown sons, and he's a grandfather to 4 grandkids and married the wife of his dreams. So everybody, buckle in, take a listen to Gary Fry.
Hey, I'm Gary Fry. 27 years ago, I was standing on the sideline of the Harris Y soccer fields, watching my 5-year-old play swarm ball, AKA soccer. And if you've ever watched 5-year-olds play soccer, you know it should be called swarm ball and not soccer, because it's a ball being swarmed by a bunch of kids moving up and down the field. Next to me is another soccer dad watching intently, and then he taps me on the shoulder and says, "So what do you do for a living?" At that moment, fear hit my heart. Pretty innocent question, don't you think? But what was happening in my mind was, I don't want to tell him because I'm embarrassed. And there was a lot more to just the embarrassment. But one of the things was I was unemployed. Have you ever been in a situation where somebody asks you a question, innocent enough, and you don't want to necessarily answer it because it embarrasses you, and there's other head trash behind that embarrassment? Well, I went ahead and told him because I felt so low at that moment, because we had been in town for only 9 months in Charlotte. I was unemployed for the last 3 months, and I didn't know anybody that was unemployed. I felt very embarrassed to be unemployed, and I felt like a loser in many ways. But I went ahead and told him I'm unemployed. And interestingly enough, he says, "Really? What's your background?" I said, "Well, I just recently turned around an ad agency. We turned it in 6 to 9 months. And it had my name on the door." He's like, "Interesting. Well, First Union is just re-engineering their marketing department." And he was a consultant there. And he said, "They need somebody like you. Get me your resume." So I didn't know this guy from Adam, but I had nothing to lose because we were on fumes. My wife was home with our 2 little boys, and I was the sole breadwinner. I wasn't bringing in much bread. So to my surprise, he not only followed through, but I got a full-time job in 2 or 3 weeks later with a signing bonus of $10,000. It was like manna from heaven. But there was a lot more to that than meets the eye that actually applies to you. And if it doesn't apply to you, I guarantee you somebody you know it applies, but more than likely it applies to you. And the issue here is imposter syndrome. So you've probably heard it, and if you haven't, Google it. But it was coined by 2 female psychologists who, in the 1970s, who observed this phenomenon, especially with female high-achieving executives. Well, we've seen since then that it affects pretty much everybody. I'm certainly not a female, and it certainly has wreaked havoc on my life. So what is this thing, imposter syndrome? Typically, it's this overwhelming sense of inferiority, feeling not good enough, being afraid of being found out to be something other than the image you're portraying. All you got to do is look on Instagram and you see everybody's show reels. The imposter syndrome just keeps playing back your behind the scene reels and says, yeah, but if they only knew. And that's what was happening to me on that day. One of the best visual descriptions I've seen of this phenomenon is 2 circles. One circle is about this big. And in that circle, it says, what I know. In a much larger circle that encompasses that small circle, this bigger circle says, what I think everyone else knows. The reality is, we all know about this much. It's just about that much. So if you can relate to that at all, hang with me. And if you can't, trust me, you know somebody that can. Let's go back to that, a little bit of that head trash of why would I feel so angst? Why would my heart race and be afraid to tell this guy I'm unemployed? Part of it is pride, I guess. The other thing was he did not know that I'd only been in town 9 months. He didn't know that 3 of those 9 months I was unemployed. He didn't know that I had experienced partner embezzlement on my first turnaround. That's what brought me to Charlotte, North Carolina. So I didn't tell him that part. I just said I was unemployed. I was not willing at that moment to say, hey, I've been through this. The other thing that he didn't know is I had been in Charlotte for 6 months before, and to take an equity position in another ad agency. I brought a $2 million account to the guy that I joined in exchange for equity in the company. And after 6 months, I delivered what I said I would do with that account and one of my top people. And my partner said, today's your last day. I got what I need. Well, he knew that I had forgiven hundreds of thousands of dollars of my other partner's debt. And he figured I'm not going to go after him for $30,000. I felt like a loser twice over at least. Oh, and plus I didn't tell him this either. I'm a college dropout. A little bit tougher in 1994, 1995 to find a job as a college dropout. He didn't know any of those things. So my question to you is, do you have things that you just can't tell everything about because you're just too afraid or too embarrassed? I've found this to be true in almost every CEO I've coached since 1998, as well as those CEOs that have been willing to confide in me and tell me some of the things that bother them. So I've got good news for you. If you have ever suffered from any of this, I've got 5.5 easy steps, 5.5 that have helped me deal with it and really put it in the rearview mirror to a certain degree. It doesn't bother me nearly like it did. And when I follow these 5.5 steps, I'm free. And I've seen it work with others as well. So the first thing is to realize you are not alone. So many people deal with this. And don't just take my word for it. Just Google it. Google it and you'll find out. It affects pretty much everybody. But to understand that you are not alone in this thing makes a huge difference. The second thing is I created this thing called Thrive Wither. It's a simple T chart. Basically take a portrait piece of paper, split it vertically with a line, draw a line at the top horizontally, write Thrive on the left side, write Wither on the right side. On the Thrive side, I want you to write down all the stuff that comes alive in you, the stuff that you love to do. This is not a strengths and weaknesses thing. This is a Thrive and Wither. And here's why. If you focus on the stuff that makes you come alive, where you thrive, you're going to have more opportunity to silence that imposter syndrome that's chirping in your ear. Yes, but, I'm not good enough on this or that. Focus on the stuff that makes you come alive. Give yourself 30 minutes, uninterrupted time, stream of consciousness. Do you like variety? Do you like the same thing over and over? Do you like being around a bunch of people? Do you like being by yourself? Do you need a mix of those things? Do you like being outside? Do you like working in a pristine environment? Do you like walking the plant floor? The kinds of tasks that you like to do. Are you more a team person? Are you more of a non-team person? Are you more of a leader? Or are you more of a follower? Be honest with yourself on all of those things. Then move to the Wither column. You're going to be listing stuff even that you may be good at, that people identify and say, man, you are the best at pivot tables in the company, but you hate pivot tables. Put those things that make you wither, that drain your battery on that side. Once you've done that for yourself, it takes courage to be honest. not to put in the stuff that you think somebody needs you to be or wants you to be. That's conformity. That's bondage. But do the stuff that's true to you. And if you're leading a company, once you've done this, do it with your management team. Take it through your entire company. The third thing is shine a light on it. That really takes courage. To admit it because you're afraid of rejection. That's usually the case. I was terrified of rejection. One of the best examples I have found is a woman named Tana Green. She wrote this book called Creating a World of Difference. You may know her because she is one of the most successful female executives in this area. She has had 10,000 W-2 employees work for her. And yet, she had secrets that were holding her back. She was afraid to admit, I can't do that. I can't talk about the fact that I had a child out of wedlock at age 15. She got married to the guy. He beat her up and abandoned her. It's in this book. And her story really is amazing. She had 2 years of college. That's about it. But she's an amazing human being, but she put a spotlight on it like nobody's business. And she said she became so free. The more that she talked about it, the more free she became. And guess what? When you do that, you unlock other people. I had an experience 5 years ago where I talked about that soccer dad experience because I wanted to honor Jim Manley, who was that other soccer dad. Now, listen, when I wrote this 1,300 character post about that experience, I was terrified again, 22 years later, about talking about it. Why? More rejection. It just conjured up all those thoughts again. But I thought, you know what? I'm going to hit the post button because I hope it helps somebody else. And most importantly, even if nobody reads it, I want to honor Jim Manley. 8.3 million people read it. It resonated. That does say that we're not alone. 8.3 million. It took me 2 hours a day, 7 days a week, 4 weeks to just answer the emails and also the comments. And I say that only to say this. It takes some courage to do it, but you will be free and you will free other people. That leads into the fourth thing. Focus on serving others versus how they're perceiving you. When we are focused on how someone perceives us, we get in bondage. Comparison kills gratitude. And whenever we're comparing ourselves or worried about how somebody is perceiving us, we allow ourselves to get into bondage. The fifth thing, gratitude journal. Intentional gratitude is probably one of the most powerful things I've ever experienced. And I learned it probably in the lowest moment of my life in 2009 when our private equity firm blew up. 30 million bucks worth of us got wasted. I got filleted financially, and I was as low as I've ever been in my life. Yet, I learned the power of an intentional gratitude. And so I encourage you, get a gratitude journal. Make it special. Get yourself a special pen and write 3 entries every day. I'm grateful for ... And then a thought about that gratitude. And it's not being grateful for the terrible circumstances. It's being grateful in spite of those things. The 5.5, the number 5.5, this is the last of these tips. Embrace the anything but typical in you. We are all anything but typical, and our fingerprints prove it. We were designed uniquely. Embrace what you are good at, who you are uniquely, etc., and embrace that anything but typicalness in other people. I hope this has benefited you. I hope you found some hope in case you have suffered under that in silence. Be the anything but typical person that you were meant to be. That's why we launched this podcast called the Anything But Typical Podcast, featuring the stories of entrepreneurs who are willing to tell their behind the scenes reel, their struggles, not just their podium finishes. I look for humility, and that has been a beautiful thing because we want to encourage other people. You are anything but typical, and embrace it. Thank you so much for your time today. Have a good day.
And you just listened to Gary Fry. You know, Ben, what a treat for you to be able to work with him.
There we go, Chris. Yeah, no, it's amazing. So I had Gary on my podcast. I just reached out to him cold on LinkedIn. We'd never known each other. And that sprouted a relationship to where we're now business partners, have been doing a podcast for 2.5 years. It's quite amazing. He's a phenomenal individual.
Yeah. So just like everything Bill and I put on with this small business, there's always challenges. There's a big storm in Charlotte, and he can't be live on Zoom. So what we're going to do is get him live on Local Biz Now as soon as we can to talk with him, and we're going to give him a full show with that, and certainly you're going to come on as well with that.
Absolutely.
So, Bill, how do you want to end this, buddy? I mean, it's just been a phenomenal show, and I really do appreciate all of the speakers and everything that they have given us. I have enjoyed learning through this process, and in some of these cases, it's the second time I've heard these videos.
You know, tomorrow's program at our business work is resilience, and there are 3 things that struck me tonight with these speakers: resilience, adapting to the change that we have, and intentional. That was the other thing, was intentional. Be intentional.
And so, Tracy, give me your final thoughts.
This has been phenomenal. I just think from the speakers, from the conversations, from the resiliency and the continued messaging that we have to begin to pivot. We can't stop. You know, there are going to be things that are happening. Life is going to happen. But it's just been amazing to kind of hear some of these stories. And I can't thank the speakers enough for just sharing some of the strategies on how to get through, how to push through, and how to thrive.
Right.
It's been awesome.
This is your second thing, right? Ben, this is your first one. What did you think about it?
Doing this one?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, piggybacking off of what Tracy just said, like you made a phenomenal point right there of if people are not pivoting and growing, right, they're going to get passed by, especially in the small business world. And that was a theme throughout all 3 hours. So I loved what we had here, the mix between the panel and us being able to go back and forth, having the speakers live. It's just, it was a really well done event. Thank you both for having us here.
Don't give any credit to Chris.
I said both, right? So it was Joe and Bill. Right?
Bill, we got about 40 seconds, buddy. How you want to end it, my friend? It's all yours.
You know, we've talked about the horses I have down the farm, and one thing struck me with the enjoy the ride. If you're going to get in the saddle, be ready for the ride.
Amen, buddy. You are listening to WSIC. This is Signature 9th Annual Small Business Event of the Year. Those of you on Facebook Live, stay with us. We're going to give you an additional motivational bite from Steve Gillian. Other than that, we appreciate it, and we'll see you next year. This has been a 3-hour uninterrupted, and we absolutely thank you, Small Business Event of the Year.
Thank you so much.
And this is a special final episode. No, not episode.
Segment?
Sign off.
I said segment.
Second sign off of the Small Business Event of the Year. We're going to play our final motivational bite with Steve Gillian, and we wanted to do that for everybody on Facebook. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Tracy. Just do it. Tell Papa. Go on.
Daddy, love you. Thanks for always tuning in. And guess what?
That's right. Mama, thank you for listening. I appreciate it. Bill, anybody you want to say? You got Sylvia that I think is watching. At least her computer's on. I don't know that she's watching you like Julie and my mama and her daddy, but she does have the computer on.
Well, thank you, Joe, for putting this together. Chris, thank you, and to our panelists, thank you for being part of our Small Business Week at Lake Norman.
Bill, Ben, any final thoughts you want to say before we go to our video?
No, it's more of just an appreciation, right? Like I was saying earlier, thank you both so much. I love this type of stuff. So you guys invite me to be a part of it means a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, you're absolutely welcome. And it does mean a lot that we chose you guys, and there's a reason for it. I'm ready for that video, Chris, if you are.
Over 35 years ago, I was told a story about a successful businessman who was about to retire, and he knew that it was time to choose a successor to take over his business. One morning, he called his management team together and said, "It's time for me to step down and choose the next CEO." All of you will get a chance to be my successor. The young executives were shocked. The CEO said, I'm going to give you all a seed, a special seed. I want you to plant this seed and water it. Bring it back after 3 months from today with what you have grown from this special seed. After judging what you bring, I will choose the next CEO. As the story goes, one executive named John purchased a potting soil, and planted the special seed he was given by the CEO. Every day he watered it, and he watched to see if it had grown. After 5 weeks, there was nothing. Some of his management colleagues began to talk about their plants and how much they were growing. A few more weeks of watering and fertilizing, it still had not grown. At the end of 3 months, John had no plant, just an empty pot. As he entered the building with his empty pot, many of his associates were laughing at him. When the CEO came in and checked all the plants, he asked everyone to sit down, except John. He looked at John and then announced to the other executives, "Behold, your next CEO is John." John couldn't believe it because he couldn't even grow his seed. Others were shocked and asked, how can he be the new CEO? Because 3 months ago, I gave everyone in this room a seed, a special seed. I told you to plant this special seed and water it and bring what it produced to me today. The thing is, I gave you all boiled seeds that were already dead. It was not possible for them to grow. Yet all of you but John brought me plants from other seeds. When you found that the seed wouldn't grow, you planted another seed for the one I gave you. John was the only one with courage and honesty to bring me a pot with the seed I gave him. Success in life is about being forthright, authentic, trustworthy, and at all times being honest. Creating an atmosphere of honesty fosters a culture of self-accountability and responsibility. Ultimately, honesty builds trust and confidence. Voicing the truth enables everyone to identify issues and work as a team. Being honest isn't always the easiest thing, but it's the right thing and the important thing. Whether it's personally or professionally, you have a duty to be honest, especially when it's the hard thing to do. Honesty is something that we all assume is a given. As children, we're told that honesty is the best policy. Once we enter the real world, though, we realize there are times when decisions may conflict with our personal values. Before we know it, we're running our lives in a way contrary to our values. The bottom line is that honesty really is the best policy. When you let go of the need to bend the truth and embrace honesty, you let everyone around you see its positive effects, and your personal and professional life will flourish as a result.